You can feel it in your chest before you see it, the moment before a god's temper breaks. Now the only answer is power. 4 divine phoenix elders attacked at the same time. Due to the surging phoenix flames, the air was instantly dyed scarlet and rumbled as though lava had just been spewed out from the depths of an erupting volcano. A sneer still remained on Xianxia's face, and when the 4 phoenix elders charged over, he also mobilized, releasing a similar scarlet fire-type profound aura as he charged at the phoenix elders, not just targeting one of them, but instead all of them. The 4 phoenix elders all saw the figure of Xianxia approaching them with a violent and terrifying aura. Upon witnessing this scene, nearly all the surrounding members of the divine phoenix sect who were watching let out a small cry. As for the phoenix elders, they all had a calm expression, and some of them even snorted in disdain. HMPH, playing with afterimages. During an intense and close battle, afterimages could cause an opponent to lose his concentration for an instant. As a result, the opponent would be forced to be passive, eventually losing the battle. However, as one's profound realm increased and their experience became increasingly vast, one would have the capability to differentiate the location of the actual body by spiritual perception. Therefore, at a high level such as the Tyrant Profound realm, unless one used a special profound afterimage technique or specialized in using afterimages, it would likely serve no help to the user, and it might even cause him harm. But in the next moment, they simultaneously had a drastic change of facial expression. Because when they used their spiritual perception, the aura emitted by the 4 Xianxias were exactly the same. And they were all extremely strong. All of them seemed to be his real bodies. Boom! The sounds of 4 phoenix flames explosions merged together, and the blinding light from the flames that surged into the air dyed the sky scarlet for a short moment. Some of the divine phoenix sect disciples, who were relatively weaker in profound cultivation, hastily retreated. In the midst of the strong phoenix flames, all 4 Xianxias faded away. The 4 Xianxias they had attacked were actually just afterimages. At the same time, the 4 phoenix elders attacked. Another blinding light shot out from a peculiar blind spot, and the speed of which was as fast as stars shooting across the sky. When Feng Hengkong and the other phoenix elders had realized the existence of the 5th afterimage, it was already above their heads. It was so fast that they could not even react in time. A miserable cry was followed by the eruption of phoenix flames. Xianxia's right hand was now tightly holding onto a person's throat. As Xianxia raised his arm, that person was lifted off the ground. Foe 14th Prince, the person being choked by Xianxia, was the 14th Prince of the Divine Phoenix sect, Feng Ziluo. From the moment the 4 Divine Phoenix elders attacked, to the moment Feng Ziluo fell into Xianxia's hands, there was only enough time for lightning to flash. When Xianxia had lifted Feng Ziluo off the ground, not even a tenth of a breath had passed since the 4 elders attacked with their phoenix flames. Feng Hengkong and the phoenix elders swiftly turned around and witnessed the sight of Xianxia clutching onto the throat of the 14th Prince, Feng Ziluo, and lifting him off the ground. They were all stunned as their expressions turned extremely ugly. The pupils of the 4 elders who had just exterminated Xianxia dilated as they could not believe their own eyes. This was the territory of Divine Phoenix sect, and the sect master, Feng Hengkong, had even personally come. There were also 50 Phoenix elders present in addition to countless Divine Phoenix sect disciples of different levels. On the other side, there was only a 20-odd years old youth who was not even hurt when the 4 elders had attacked him at the same time. On the contrary, he had even gained a hostage, and the person he held hostage was a prince of the Divine Phoenix sect. Furthermore, this 14th prince was hiding behind all the elders, and it could be said that he was hiding at the safest place within the entire Divine Phoenix sect, or perhaps even within the entire sky profound 7 nations. More than a slap on the face, this humiliation suffered by all the members of the Divine Phoenix sect present was like being smacked in the face with feces. This humiliation was at least 1,000 worse than the one they suffered when Xianxia single-handedly defeated the geniuses of their younger generation 3 years back. If this news spread, the Divine Phoenix sect would be the laughingstock for generations. "Royal Father, save me!" "Ah!" Feng Ziluo uttered with a hoarse voice filled with pain. However, Xianxia immediately tightened his grip, disabling Feng Ziluo to utter another word, as his originally handsome-looking face was now ashen and contorting in pain. 3 years back, he could still force Xianxia into a tough battle. But now, although he was still higher in terms of profound strength, In terms of actual battle capabilities, Feng Ziluo could not even be considered worthy to face him. While he was in Yun Qi's grasp, it was not that he did not want a struggle, but Yun Qi's strength was just too much for him to put up a struggle. He could not use one bit of his profound energy, and he could not even move his pinky one bit. 14th Prince, release the 14th Prince at once. If you dare to hurt the 14th Prince one bit, our Divine Phoenix sect would ensure you that you won't have a proper resting place when you die. Crown Prince Feng Ziming roared in anger. Let go of him. Feng Henkong rushed to the front but dared not move another step. His expression was downcast while his heart was still shocked at the speed Yun Qi had displayed just now. Yun Qi, you should know his identity. If you dare to harm him, not only will we not leave you with an intact corpse, we will also exterminate your entire bloodline. Oh, is that so? Yun Qi smiled coldly. Not only had he not loosened his grip on Feng Ziluo, he had even tightened it. Siarak, the sounds of bone being shattered rang clearly in the air. 14th Prince, stop! You! Feng Henkong was instantly enraged as he ferociously stepped forward. He was no longer able to maintain the composure he initially had. It was widely known within the Divine Phoenix Empire that among his 14 sons, Feng Ziluo was the one Feng Henkong doted on the most. However, he was now being strangled like a dead dog in front of him as the Emperor of the Divine Phoenix Empire. This was definitely something that had never occurred to him, even in his dreams. Ha, facing Feng Henkong, whose expression turned 10 times more ferocious than before. Yun Qi didn't show the slightest hint of fear as he looked at him straight into the eye. Only a cold, mocking smile appeared on his face as he said, Feng Henkong, your son is in my hands. As long as I will it, I can instantly extinguish his life, yet you still have the guts to threaten me. Should I praise you for your foolishness, or should I pity this so-called prince whom in your eyes is only an unimportant and worthless trash? Feng Henkong's chest rose with intensity. It looked like it could explode at any moment. He said with a sinister voice, Yun Qi, if you dare. Crack. The sounds of bone shattering was once again emitted from the throat of the 14th Prince, causing Feng Henkong to fall into silence. Due to his extreme rage, Feng Henkong's bones also let out cracking sounds. All the other elders, princes, as well as disciples were also shocked and angry. So what would happen if I dared? Yun Qi spoke as he narrowed his eyes into slits. Feng Ziluo, who was in his hands, was similar to a ghoul as his ashen face contorted under his fear and pain. At this time, Great Elder Feng Feili immediately sent a sound transmission to Feng Henkong. Sect Master, for Yun Qi to come alone. He obviously does not plan to go back alive. A madman who has no regards for his life is capable of doing anything. 14th Prince is currently in his hands, so we must not anger him. He's only holding the 14th Prince hostage and hasn't committed a killing blow yet. It's obvious that he has some motive. You need to pacify him and save the 14th Prince before doing anything. Feng Henkong took a deep breath as he tried his best to calm himself down. All right, let him go. This emperor promises to let you go, and no one is allowed to stop you. Oh, Yun Qi smiled cheekily. Divine Phoenix Sect Master could cause my Blue Wind Empire to turn into a river of blood at one command, and yet you're suddenly acting so magnanimous now. You're even going to pardon me of the heinous crime of destroying your Phoenix God sculpture. HMPH, Feng Henkong snorted. Our son's life is much more valuable than yours. Before this emperor changes his mind, you'd better let him go and scram from here. Yun Qi still had a sneer on his face. It was evident that he did not have any intention of letting Feng Ziluo go. In a leisurely manner, Yun Qi said, Feng Henkong, it seems like not only is your personality far more disgusting than I have imagined, you seem to be an idiot as well. Just how did a person like you become the sect master of the Divine Phoenix sect? It seems like everyone in this world has overestimated the might of the Divine Phoenix sect. Use your pig brain and think it through. For me to come all the way here, do you think that I would leave empty-handed? Yun Qi's words had undoubtedly caused all of the Phoenix disciples to nearly explode in rage. Their sharp and vicious gaze could almost tear Yun Qi into the smallest shreds. With each and every insult Yun Qi threw at Feng Henkong, the principles and values of the latter as a ruler seemed to shatter into pieces in front of all the Phoenix disciples. Feng Feili frantically rushed forward and gave the enraged Feng Henkong, who looked like he was going to explode at any moment, a look before directly asking Yun Qi, All right, Yun Qi, since you're holding our 14th Prince hostage, our Divine Phoenix sect will accede to your demands. Just list down whatever conditions you have. Very good. Xianxia nodded in satisfaction as he leisurely continued. Based on the heinous crimes that your divine phoenix sect has committed, I had originally wanted to exterminate all of you, only leaving Zur behind. However, it's a pity that I'm still a consort of the Blue Wind Imperial family, and there are some matters that I have to consider for the sake of my Empress. Also, because Zur had saved my life before, I shall not kill anyone and give your divine phoenix sect a chance. A single person, standing in the territory of the divine phoenix sect, saying that he wanted to exterminate the entire sect, was now giving them a chance. The entire divine phoenix sect did not know whether to laugh or to cry. However, their 14th prince's life was still in Xianxia's hands. Hence, they did not dare to make any noise in this world. Was there anything that would be more indignant than this? In the next moment, they were going to find out that there actually was. If you want me to let your divine phoenix sect off, you just have to agree to 3 conditions. Xianxia, who was surrounded by the divine phoenix sect, had imbued his voice with profound energy and spoke in a voice that every corner of Divine Phoenix City could hear. Firstly, within 30 days, the entire Divine Phoenix army must get out of my Blue Wind Nation's territory. Not one person or a strand of hair can be left behind. Furthermore, you are not allowed to step foot into my Blue Wind Nation for the next 100 years. Secondly, without waiting for the Divine Phoenix Sect's reply, Xianxia had already continued. You, Feng Henkang, must personally pen a letter of apology towards my Blue Wind Nation. This must be announced to the world. Thirdly, you must compensate my Blue Wind Nation 10 billion purple profound coins. Calling back the Divine Phoenix Sect troops was not a surprising condition. They had all guessed that this was probably the reason why Xianxia had come. However, they did not expect that this was only the first of his conditions. When Xianxia had finished saying his second condition, all the Phoenix Elders nearly exploded with rage for them to apologize to the lowly Blue Wind Nation. This was undoubtedly an absolute joke. When Xianxia had finished saying his third condition, even all of the disciples present nearly passed out in rage. Compensation, 10 billion purple profound coins. Exchanging it to yellow profound coins, that was 100 trillion. The first condition was to protect Blue Wind Nation. The second condition was to make the Divine Phoenix Nation lose all their face, and the third condition was to cause the Divine Phoenix Nation to suffer a huge loss. From Divine Phoenix Sect's perspective, this was the biggest joke in the world. Though Feng Ziluo was indeed a Divine Phoenix Prince, even if Xianxia was holding Crown Prince Feng Ziming hostage, the Divine Phoenix Sect would never apologize to the lowly Blue Wind Nation, let alone talk about the third condition. Did Xianxia think that he was holding the Divine Phoenix Sect's Phoenix God hostage? Feng Henkang's rage turned into laughter. Xianxia, did you think that just by holding our son hostage that we would not dare to do anything to you? This emperor has already given you a chance to live, but you are stubbornly seeking death. No, 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 Xianxia interrupted while laughing coldly. I am the one giving you all a chance. In my entire life, I have never offered such a magnanimous chance, yet you seem to be unwilling to accept it. On behalf of Zur, let me remind you one last time that you should take a hold of this chance. If you still fail to appreciate my kindness and choose to remain stubborn, I will not offer such discounted terms anymore. When Xianxia said his last sentence, his face was as vicious as a cobra, and his laugh was as sinister as the devil's. H-A-H-A-H-A-H-A. Feng Henkang laughed loudly. However, the laughter was sinister and filled with anger. He swung his arms, stared at Xianxia like an eagle, and walked towards Xianxia step by step. My Divine Phoenix Sect has reigned on top of profound sky for 5,000 years, and we have never feared anyone, nor has anyone ever threatened us before. Those that dare to offend my Divine Phoenix, whether it be a person, clan, or nation, can all be eliminated at the lift of my finger. This emperor really wants to see whether or not you have the guts to kill my son. Boom. The moment Feng Henkang's sonorous voice stopped, a ball of fire also erupted from Xianxia's body. Feng Henkang stood rooted on the ground as his pupils contracted. His body first became stiff, then it trembled vigorously. Several terrible shrieks that could nearly pierce the heavens rang beside his ears. Within the flames, Feng Ziluo's body turned into millions of pieces and dispersed. Before he died, he didn't even have the chance to make a sound. Even the pieces of his corpse were quickly burnt into ashes by the flame. Xianxia pulled his arm back and swung his right hand strongly in front of his body. With a cold smile and a sinister expression, he calmly asked, "What now?" Feng Ziluo had died, died at the hands of Xianxia. Moreover, it was truly a death without an intact corpse. All of the divine Phoenix elders and disciples were stunned, even though Feng Ziluo's life was grasped within Xianxia's hands just a second ago. The elders and disciples still subconsciously refused to believe that Feng Ziluo would actually lose his life. He was a divine Phoenix prince, a person of the most revered status in profound sky continent. In this world, who would really dare to kill a divine Phoenix prince? Feng Henkang did not anticipate this as well, especially because Xianxia personally said that he had to consider for the sake of Blue Wind. When he provided 3 conditions, Feng Henkang was even more certain that Xianxia would not dare to do anything too extreme. He had begun approaching step by step while speaking with a sharp tone, expecting that Xianxia would be frightened and even reveal an opening. However, he had never expected, no matter what, that by his second step, Xianxia had actually dealt the killing blow then and there, making him the Divine Phoenix Emperor and Divine Phoenix Sect Master, helplessly watch on as his most beloved son turned into ashes before his very eyes. You! Scarlet-colored flames shot out from every single strand of Feng Henkang's hair on his head, and even from those that were on his body. Both his pupils dyed red with blood. The baleful aura coming from him was intense to the point where none of the Phoenix elders had ever seen before. You die! In his extreme rage, Feng Henkang suddenly struck out, grasping toward Xianxia's throat with his right hand. Without any restraint, the tremendous amount of profound energy that was released instantly formed into an enormous flood of flames, which pounced toward Xianxia's entire being, as though it was an enormous beast that lost its mind from rage. At the same time that Feng Henkang attacked, Great Elder Feng Feili, Second Elder Feng Farron, and Crown Prince Feng Ziming also attacked. Feng Ziming laid out a huge phoenix domain that completely surrounded Xianxia, while the profound energy of the other 2 elders formed into 2 similar profound formations. These profound formations discharged a huge amount of attraction which prevented Xianxia from escaping. Devil spawn, meet your end! Boom! These were the phoenix flames from a phoenix sect master that was extremely furious. At the moment of its eruption, just the overflowing shockwaves alone violently threw thousands of phoenix disciples into the air. In an instant, there were miserable cries all around. Within the light of the flames that spread out to several hundred meters away, one silhouette rose up into the sky, hovering tall in the air. Xianxia, completely untouched, with a face carrying a faint elation, sneered as he looked down below him. Feng Henkang, how does it feel to watch your son die in front of you? Is it so painful that you wish you can make mincemeat out of me? Haha, then do you know how many of my Blue Wind citizens endured a pain millions of times greater than yours? Xianxia! Feng Henkang's voice was violently trembling. In his whole life, he had never been so furious and so resentful. Today, this emperor will definitely tear you apart with our own hands. Whoosh. Amidst the chaotic of the explosion, 13 Phoenix elders surged into the sky together. Following them, Phoenix flames of the Tyrant Profound realm also shot through the skies, engulfing the firmament and completely enveloped Xianxia in an instant. However, even when the entire sky was engulfed with flames, what came through was not Xianxia's miserable screams. Rather, it was his hysterical laughter. Feng Henkang, honestly speaking, I was really worried that you would have immediately agreed to those 3 conditions, or else I would have found it really difficult to actually kill your son. However, as expected, you did not let me down. Today, I'm only going to kill 1 person from your Divine Phoenix sect for now. Tomorrow, I'll still bestow your Divine Phoenix sect another opportunity to redeem yourselves. However, the chance tomorrow won't be as benevolent as today. As for the consequences of being disobedient, that won't be as simple as merely 1 person dying either. Feng Feili roared in a violent rage. Your death is imminent, but you still dare to speak insolent words. You, the devil spawn that destroyed the Phoenix God sculpture and killed our 14th prince, are still dreaming about leaving this place alive. Profound energy erupted, and Phoenix flames surged. Not only did more than a dozen elders attack at the same time while propelled by the anger and humiliation of their prince's death, all their attacks were also killing blows without the slightest bit of mercy, to the point of not even taking the surrounding disciples with relatively low cultivation into account. Xianxia's body turned illusory before 5 carbon copy images of himself instantaneously dispersed to 5 different directions. The speed of these images were all extremely fast, as every single one of them shot out from the 13 elders' encirclement. Even their afterimages was not touched by the elders. As the afterimages dispersed, Yun Chi's real body had long ago broke away from the phoenix flames that rolled through the entire sky during the time the elders were dumbfounded. Appearing over 100 meters away, he went into the distance with an extremely quick speed amidst his wild laughter. Feng Henkang, from now on, do your best to enjoy this splendid game I've especially bestowed upon you, ha. Even with 13 Phoenix sect elders attacking at the same time, their target had actually escaped in an instant. Much more than shock, they were so angry that their chests were about to explode. They crazily pursued him in the direction that he escaped towards. You still want to run. Today you will be... The roars of the elders slowly faded as their speed gradually slowed down as well. Soon, all of them stopped at the same time as they blankly stared in the direction where Yun Chi had flown off, as though their souls had left their bodies. That was because Yun Chi's speed was simply too fast. While he flew, the profound aura that he released was only of the Emperor Profound realm. Furthermore, it was only the early stages of the Emperor Profound realm, yet his speed was so fast it could startle the heavens, earth, and even ghosts. The Phoenix Elders were all in the mid to late stages of the Tyrant Profound realm, and their strong, profound energy allowed them to travel extremely quickly. However, in only 3 breaths of time, Yun Chi went from being less than 15 meters away to nearly disappearing from their sight, and in the next breath, he had already completely disappeared from sight. In addition, this had happened while the elders were pursuing him at full speed. The 13 divine Phoenix elders were all dumbstruck as they each took in deep breaths. Just what kind of speed did Yun Chi possess? Such shocking speed. How could this be from a junior who only emitted the aura of the Emperor Profound realm? Fast to the point that it made these powerful Phoenix elders frankly give up in despair after merely chasing for 3 breaths of time. They could only look on helplessly as the person who destroyed their Phoenix god sculpture and killed their prince left completely unscathed. Not only were the 13 elders that were in midair stunned, all those who had witnessed Yun Chi's speed were all dumbstruck. When Feng Ziluo had landed into Yun Chi's hands, they had all attributed it to their own carelessness. But now, they realized what put Divine Phoenix Sect through such a disaster was obviously a godlike speed. Feng Feili's twitching eyelids suddenly tightened as he remembered something and said in shock, "That is extreme mirage lightning." "What?" Feng Farron exclaimed as he turned around in surprise. "Extreme mirage lightning. Isn't that Thief God clan's ultimate skill? In addition, it's only passed down to the sons and no one else. Currently, the only one who can use extreme mirage lighting is the Ghost Mirage Sacred Hand, Hua Minghai. How is it possible that Yun Chi... What are you guys dawdling about for? Hurry up and give chase. Chase, cut his corpse into 1,000 pieces." It was obvious that Feng Henkang had lost control. Although he was the Divine Phoenix Sect Master, his son had just been killed in his presence right in front of his entire sect. The impact of this was so big that even he, as a sect master and an emperor of a nation, could not calm himself in a short moment of time. "Royal Father, you need to calm down. Yun Chi cannot escape our Divine Phoenix Sect's network of people." Feng Ziming came forward and said consolingly, "Sect Master, you must restrain your sorrow. Regarding the 14th Prince's death, we will definitely deliver justice for him." All the elders gradually went forward with faces of rage and anguish. Feng Henkang took a deep breath. After relaxing for a while, he finally calmed down a little. He turned and looked at the place where Feng Ziluo was obliterated by Yun Chi. Even with the eyesight of someone in the pinnacle of the Tyrant Profound realm, forget about the remnants of a corpse. He could not even find any shred of clothing left behind. Feng Henkang clenched his fists tightly, shaking to the point where it seemed as though all the bones in his hand were about to break. However, his voice was surprisingly calm. "Send out all the idling disciples within the sect to kill Yun Chi at all costs. When he's found, kill him on sight." "Understood. This son will go instruct them immediately." Feng Ziming nodded in acknowledgement before leaving hastily. "Second brother," Feng Henkang shouted towards Great Elder Feng Feili, "please personally send a sound transmission to Zur and tell her that there will be a distinguished guest visiting the sect in the coming days. Therefore, I won't be able to leave, and it's also not suitable for her to come over. Tell her to rest assured and stay at Phoenix Perching Valley for this period. In addition, for this period, you will personally monitor Phoenix Mountain Range's Great Phoenix Formation." Feng Feili understood the meaning behind Feng Henkang's words and slowly nodded. "Don't worry, Sect Master." Feng Henkang closed his eyes. His body trembled in rage and his face filled with agony. He viewed Feng Zuer to be more valuable than his life, and always could not bear to hide anything from her. When she had awoken after being unconscious for 3 years, he was initially overjoyed. However, in the past few days, he had been forced to deceive her time and time again. However, his worry was completely unnecessary, as Xianxia definitely would not go look for Feng Zuer. After confirming that Feng Zuer was not at the sect, but probably at the Phoenix Perching Valley, Xianxia heaved a sigh of relief. He hoped that Feng Zuer would not appear. If she did appear, he would really not know how he should face her. The Phoenix God sculpture was destroyed. The 14th prince was killed. The Divine Phoenix sect was now in chaos, and an uproar started to spread within the entire Divine Phoenix city. Many Phoenix sect disciples searched every corner of the city, and even went as far as searching the outskirts. They seemed like a group of panicking headless flies as they searched for the whereabouts of Xianxia. Within the region of Divine Phoenix City, the Divine Phoenix sect naturally had a vast and intensive network of people and intelligence. Furthermore, by sending out a large number of disciples, they thought that Xianxia would have nowhere to hide. However, from high noon until night had fallen, let alone capturing him, not a trace of Xianxia was to be found. At the center of the Divine Phoenix City, standing at one end on the 7th level of the Black Moon Merchant Guild, Xianxia stood in front of a transparent window that was filled up with various unique profound formations. As he looked down at the restless Divine Phoenix City, ripples constantly appeared in his eyes. He really is someone who cannot be fathomed. Xianxia sighed as he said to himself, although I had guessed that he would probably kill to show that he was serious, I never imagined that he would go ahead and kill a prince. This was obviously something that only a madman who has completely lost his sanity would do. However, just from the conversation I had with him previously, he probably doesn't want to become complete mortal enemies with Divine Phoenix Empire. After all, based on his character, he would definitely consider for the circumstances and future of Blue Wind Empire. However, his behavior and intent are so contradictory. What exactly he trying to accomplish? SSS. A soft noise that ordinary people would not be able to detect rang softly in Xianxia's ear. He stretched out his fingers and touched the air lightly. A profound formation that was only half an inch wide took form. From it came a voice that had been deliberately suppressed. Xianxia has been found. Oh, where is he now? Asked Xianxia. 100 kilometers southwest of the city on a hill. His clothing did not change, nor did he disguise himself. Without changing his clothes and looks, he actually managed to get out of Divine Phoenix City without being detected by Divine Phoenix sect. Xianxia's face revealed signs of puzzlement and shock. He had to admit, if he were to be placed in the same situation, he would not have been able to accomplish the same feat. He would even go so far to say that there was no one else that could probably do it as well, except for escaping and escaping without leaving a trace were two entirely different concepts. If you all were about to discover his whereabouts, he would have most likely found out about you as well, Xianxia said. That is indeed the case. But as you said, once he saw that we had the Black Moon emblem, he did not attack us. He only seemed to barely open his eyes before continuing to. Oh, what was he doing outside of Divine Phoenix City? It seemed like he was sleeping. In addition, according to a source within Divine Phoenix sect, the movement skill that he used to escape made him fast as lightning. Seems as though it was the Thief God clan's Extreme Mirage Lightning. Extreme Mirage Lightning. Xianxia's eyebrows jumped fiercely. Even at the level he was in, the words Extreme Mirage Lightning still reverberated like thunder in his ears. This was because the Extreme Mirage Lightning was a profound movement skill that even the 4 great sacred grounds regarded as being the best in the world. It could cover up one's aura, and the ability it granted to travel long distances could be said to be unparalleled in this world. If a throne that possessed Extreme Mirage Lightning and used all his abilities to hide himself, even an overlord who was within 10 steps would not be able to detect him. If he used it to escape at full speed, the overlord would only be able to eat the dust behind the throne. There was only one successor left for the Thief God clan, and that successor's profound cultivation has only reached the early stages of the Emperor Profound realm. Yet, his name was something that even everyone from the 4 great sacred grounds knew. All of this was because of Extreme Mirage Lightning. While only being in the early stage of the Emperor Profound realm, he could freely enter and leave the Divine Phoenix sect unscathed. This displayed the might of the Extreme Mirage Lightning. Can you verify this news? Xianxia asked with a frown. In his knowledge, extreme mirage lightning was something that has always been passed on to sons and never to anyone else. It was not even allowed to be taught to a daughter. Also, at the level of the 4 great sacred grounds, there had always been rumors. Sun Moon Divine Hall yearned for the extreme mirage lightning and had once secretly investigated the whereabouts of descendants of the thief god clan. They tried using coercing, enticements, and even murder, but were still unable to obtain what they wanted. Even when facing Sun Moon Divine Hall, the thief god clan still refused to hand over extreme mirage lightning, so how could it appear on Xianxia? The successor of the thief god clan in this generation is someone named Hua Minghai. He has snuck into the Divine Phoenix sect several times in the past few years. He was detected twice when he had triggered a profound formation, which then caused several Phoenix sect elders to chase him, only for him to escape using extreme mirage lightning. Therefore, several of the Phoenix sect elders were very familiar with the profound fluctuations emitted when extreme mirage lightning was used. The aura of the profound movement skill Xianxia used when he escaped was very similar. However, these are all merely speculations, and there's no concrete proof. Zai Jai was silent for a long time. Then he replied faintly, "Pay close attention to Xianxia's movements, but don't disturb him. Furthermore, don't reveal anything that concerns him to anyone else except for me. Also, have those stationed in Blue Wind Nation focus on observing the events happening in Blue Wind Imperial City." This subordinate understands. Wait, the one called Fen Juchen, don't lose track of him either. Yes. Even though night had fallen, Divine Phoenix City had still yet to calm down. The Phoenix disciples still continued to persevere in their search for Xianxia as they swarmed the place like a bunch of headless houseflies. An entire day of fruitless labor had left them all sullen and angry, and not one of them had the face to go back to report their findings. As such, they grew even more frustrated and impatient, to the point where they began to forcefully barge into the various big merchant guilds, sects, medical halls, and even residential areas, practically turning all the places which could hide a person upside down. The exception, of course, being the Black Moon Merchant Guild. Despite all their efforts, they could not even catch a glimpse of Xianxia's shadow. What they did accomplish, however, was raising the ire of the residents of Divine Phoenix City, even though no one dared to voice it. Only when midnight came did the search finally ended. However, the lights within the Divine Phoenix sect were still brightly lit. The fact that they could not find any trace of Xianxia despite mobilizing nearly the entire Divine Phoenix sect left them in a state of shock, causing the atmosphere to become especially tense and oppressive. Feng Henkang and the various elders were no exception. Not a single of them was able to sleep, so they all gathered in the Phoenix main hall to discuss on how to deal with the entire Xianxia affair. Given the incredulous boast that Xianxia had made before he ran away, he would definitely come again tomorrow. This time, they had to eliminate Xianxia no matter what. Xianxia's success in fleeing the first time could still be explained with them being left unprepared by his bizarre speed. If he truly delivered himself to their doorstep once again, and they still failed to kill him the second time around, then the entire profound sky continent would look down on their Divine Phoenix sect as some kind of huge joke, and their 5,000 years of prestige would go down the drain in one stroke after that day of absolute chaos. Divine Phoenix City descended into a peculiar silence. It was especially so within the Divine Phoenix sect. The atmosphere had become so oppressive, as if everyone there were being boiled in a pressure cooker, making it hard for anyone to breathe. Within Divine Phoenix City, people kept on looking in the direction of Phoenix City, but whenever they did, they no longer saw the Phoenix God sculpture which radiated might and awe. Within the Divine Phoenix sect, Feng Henkang had not slept a wink, nor had he taken a step outside the sect's doors. He stood at the entrance of the Phoenix main hall with his head raised, staring at the sky as his whole body released a vicious aura which struck fear into the hearts of anyone who was in the vicinity. The Phoenix God sculpture had been destroyed, and his son had also been killed. However, not only had the culprit, Xianxia, managed to escape, they also failed to find a single trace of him despite searching day and night. At this moment, they had no choice but to wait for the other party to appear once more. All of this made the wrath and resentment in Feng Henkang's heart reach the boiling point. "Sect Master," 38th Elder Feng Yunjai spoke as he strode towards him. "Have you found out where Xianxia is hiding yet?" Feng Henkang asked in an emotionless voice, indicative of the fact that he did not held much hope in that regard. Feng Yunjai shook his head and said in a low voice, "It has already been a day and a night, so it is about time for us to hold. to hold the 14th prince's funeral ceremony. The center of Feng Hengkang's brow violently jerked, as if it had been stabbed by some kind of needle. Not only had Feng Ziluo died, not even a semblance of his corpse was left behind. Every time Feng Hengkang thought of this, he felt as if his heart was being torn apart. He said in an extremely low and grim voice, "We have not caught Xianxia yet. We need to use his life and his blood to comfort Liu's departed spirit." Feng Yunjai bent his head and let out a soft sigh. "I understand. Yesterday we were completely caught off guard. That's why he has successfully escaped. But if he pays us a visit again, then we will definitely not let him slip through our net. We have been searching for day and night, but we still couldn't find and trace of Xianxia. He has clearly fled from Divine Phoenix City. As of this moment, every corner of the city is being monitored, so the moment he steps into our territory, we will discover him right away. Once that happens, the sect will immediately be notified, and we will simply wait for him to fall into our hands." "Any movement so far?" Feng Hengkang asked. "None at the moment." Feng Yunjai shook his head once more. "Today will be different from yesterday because this time he will definitely be exceedingly cautious in his approach. It is extremely likely that he will only move under the cover of the darkness. HMPH, this time, if he does indeed make an appearance, the moment he steps into our imperial city, we will definitely be aware of it. So the moment he approaches Phoenix City, we will only need a moment to have him." "Ah, save me! Royal Father, save me!" Suddenly, a miserable wail that was filled with stark terror pierced the air. It was akin to a thunderclap that landed in the midst of the artificially peaceful Phoenix City. Feng Hengkang and Feng Yunjai's expressions underwent a drastic change as all the remaining elders and disciples swarmed out into the open to find the source of that scream. Boom! A palace, which was half a kilometer away from the Phoenix main hall, was blown apart with a loud explosion. Furthermore, that was the palace of one of the princes. The silhouette of a person holding another hundreds of meters above the ground could be seen within a pillar of smoke and flames that shot to the sky. The hoarse wails of terror was coming from the person who was being held. Looking at the two figures hovering in the air, everyone of Phoenix City had expressions of unrelenting terror. Xianxia, 13th Prince, it's the 13th Prince." The one who was yelling in terror was actually the 13th Prince of the Divine Phoenix Empire, Feng Zichen. As for the one who was holding him aloft, it was astonishingly Xianxia. Xianxia's eyes were narrowed into slits, and his face still held the same cold and mocking smile from yesterday as he arrogantly gazed down upon all the living creatures below him. "This isn't possible. When did he? Impossible." Feng Yunjai's pupils widened so much that his eyes nearly popped out. He had just reassured Feng Hengkang that if Xianxia took even a single step into Divine Phoenix City, they would immediately be aware of it, much less Xianxia being able to infiltrate Phoenix City. However, just as he had finished speaking, Xianxia had actually appeared in the middle of Phoenix City, and he even held the 13th Prince Feng Zichen in his hands. From Divine Phoenix City to Phoenix City, to the 13th Prince's private palace, and even to the point where the 13th Prince had fallen into Xianxia's hand, all of this had happened without a single person noticing. The hegemons who lorded over the profound Sky Seven Nations, the ones who were at the heart of the Divine Phoenix Empire, a sect that had lasted for 5,000 years and had approached the status of a sacred ground, was actually like a playground for Xianxia. With a trembling voice, Feng Yunjai kept on muttering the words, "Impossible." And all of the gathered Phoenix elders and disciples were also staring at the sky with sheer disbelief. "Feng Hengkang, another day has passed and we meet yet again. I said that I would come again today, and I have upheld my end of the bargain." Xianxia looked down at Feng Hengkang as he continued to let Feng Zichen scream and writhe in the air. There was a good reason for choosing Feng Zichen as his target today. Xianxia was a person who would pay back every insult and injury. He would never forget the day when the 13th Prince tried to wreck his wedding with Kang Yue, and how the 13th Prince had arrogantly proclaimed that he was merely tidying up family affairs when asked to explain his actions. However, because Xianxia was still too weak and also had to consider the bigger picture, he was not able to kill Feng Zichen that day. Today was a different story, though. He continued, "Too bad the people from your Divine Phoenix sect lacks common courtesy. I had a grand old time walking all the way from the Divine Phoenix City to Phoenix City, but not a single person bothered to greet me. Ah, the manner in which your Divine Phoenix sect treats its guests has truly disappointed me." In fact, it was not actually difficult for Xianxia to infiltrate Phoenix City without being discovered. Before entering Divine Phoenix City, he had used hidden flowing lightning to hide his aura. Then he had killed one of the Divine Phoenix disciples who was loitering around alone, and used his profound handle to retrieve his memories before disguising himself as the person he had ambushed and swaggered into Phoenix City. His body was already naturally releasing the aura of the Phoenix. Moreover, his appearance, memories, and profound energy aura were all completely and perfectly flawless. Even Feng Henkang himself would not notice anything wrong if he walked past Xianxia, so it was only natural that no one else did either. "Put down the 13th prince?" The nearest Divine Phoenix sect elder yelled at him through trembling lips. Feng Henkang's face had turned completely green. The scene of Feng Ziluo being incinerated by Xianxia just one day prior to this flashed before his eyes. And today, yet another one of his sons had fallen into Xianxia's hands. He pointed a finger at Xianxia and roared at him with such extreme fury that practically all the cells in his body trembled fiercely. "Xianxia, if you dare to harm a single hair on his head, we will definitely make you pay a price that is 1,000,000 times worse than this." "Haha, you seem to have repeatedly said those words yesterday, but it doesn't really have any bloody effect at all. When it was time for your son to die, he still died in the end." Even if Feng Henkang's words were 100 times more venomous, it would still fail to intimidate Xianxia in the slightest. He continued with a cheerful voice, "But you don't need to be so agitated. After all, you are the emperor of the Divine Phoenix Nation, so no matter what happens, you shouldn't leave behind the dignity that comes with your exalted status, right? Furthermore, this son of yours isn't dead yet. But of course, if you still insist on being stubborn, then I won't be able to assure his safety. Royal Father, save me, save me." All of the strength in Feng Zichen's body had been sealed, and right now, he couldn't even struggle from Xianxia's grasp. As such, the only thing he was able to do was let out miserable cries for help. During the time when he traveled to Blue Wind Nation, he had already been intimately acquainted with Xianxia's viciousness, and yesterday, Feng Ziluo had miserably lost his life in Xianxia's hands. Feng Zichen was very clear that the person before him was a true devil. Xianxia was certainly not bluffing when he said that he would take his life. The threats of the Divine Phoenix sect, which was enough to cow all the other sects within the 7 nations, had no effect on him at all. "Silence, you are a Divine Phoenix Prince. When have we taught you to beg for your life in such a petty and low manner? You have simply thrown away all the remaining dignity of our Divine Phoenix sect." Feng Henkang yelled in a furious voice, yet that voice had already begun to tremble. He had restrained his own anger for a day and a night, intending to wait for Xianxia to deliver himself to their doorsteps, before avenging his son by personally torturing Xianxia to death. But right now, Xianxia had once again appeared before him, and despite the energy swirling around him which contorted the space from where he stood, he was unable to make a move, because yet another one of his sons had fallen into Xianxia's grasp. Great Elder Feng Feili swiftly sent a sound transmission to Feng Henkang. "Sect Master, this Xianxia is clearly a madman, and he is capable of doing anything. Now that the 13th prince has fallen into his hands, you must definitely not do anything to agitate him. The only reason why he hasn't harmed the 13th prince yet is so that he can coerce us into giving in to the demands he had imposed yesterday. We need to feign civility for now and agree to all his demands, until we are able to secure the 13th prince again. We have already lost the 14th prince, so we definitely cannot lose another prince again." Even though he was more than 5 kilometers away, he could clearly feel Feng Henkang's wrath and killing intent. Tens of elders took to the sky from where they had been prior to this incident, and all of them rose to Xianxia's location, forming an enormous circle around him. Feng Feili took in a deep breath before speaking. "Xianxia, to think that you were not only able to infiltrate our Divine Phoenix sect undetected, but you were also able to capture the 13th prince. Your actions have proven how extraordinary you are, and today we have no choice but to admit defeat. However, that is as long as you are willing to set the 13th prince free. In addition, the Divine Phoenix sect is willing to comply with all the 3 conditions you have proposed yesterday." The gathered Phoenix disciples were all stunned for a brief moment, before they were able to come back to their senses. Given the prestige and position of the Divine Phoenix sect, they would definitely not agree to any of the 3 conditions Xianxia proposed yesterday. It was clear that the Great Elder was just stalling for time. Given Xianxia's viciousness, this was indeed the only option left to them. Once they managed to rescue the 13th prince, anything that would happen after that would be completely out of Xianxia's control. "Oh, Those three conditions yesterday. Xianxia questioningly spoke as his eyes flashed with a dangerous and cruel mirth. What do the three conditions yesterday have to do today? The Great Elder's memory seems to be slightly defective, because yesterday, I clearly stated that those three conditions that I proposed yesterday was the most magnanimous chance that I, Xianxia, had ever given in my entire life. It was the best chance I was willing to give you, yet all of you refused to behave sensibly. Could it be that you are foolish enough to believe that the conditions that I will be proposing today will have anything to do with the conditions that I had proposed yesterday? You! The profound energy within Feng Hengkang's body exploded outwards, and two of the Phoenix Main Hall's thick pillars behind him instantly crumbled due to the impact. Feng Feili swiftly shot Feng Hengkang a glance, as he did his best to suppress the fury in his heart. He replied, "All right, then you can proceed to tell us the conditions that you are going to propose today. You were indeed the right choice to replace Feng Feiyan as the Great Elder. It is truly refreshing," Xianxia said with an expression of admiration, before flipping his palm, lifting Feng Zichen even higher into the air, causing him give a wail that was even more miserable than the previous ones. "Then all of you better pluck your ears up and listen. The first condition is that within 25 days, the entire Divine Phoenix army must get out of my Blue Wind Nation's territory. Not one person or a strand of hair can be left behind. Furthermore, you are not allowed to step foot into my Blue Wind Nation for the next 200 years. The second condition is that Feng Hengkang should personally pen a letter of apology for the crimes that he has committed against our Blue Wind Nation, and this letter should be shown to the world. Additionally, I would require all of the Phoenix Sect elders to personally write a letter of apology, as well to be mailed to the Blue Wind Imperial family, before personally coming down to apologize for your crimes. The third condition is to send 2 billion purple profound coins to our Blue Wind Nation as compensation." The three conditions that Xianxia had proposed still had to do with the withdrawal of troops, official apologies, and compensation. But every single condition was far more severe than the ones proposed the day before. And the demand regarding compensation was exceptionally severe, as the amount requested today was 2 times as much as the amount requested yesterday. This time even the lowliest Phoenix disciples were so filled with anger that their bodies were trembling, so one did not need to mention Feng Hengkang's reaction. But Xianxia had not even finished speaking yet. The fourth condition is to cede the Red Jade City that is located to the northeastern part of the Divine Phoenix Nation to my Blue Wind Nation. Maintaining an enormous amount of tolerance, Feng Feili negotiated with Xianxia. With nearly every passing breath, he had to remind himself that he had to be calm and must not be irritable. Despite that, once Xianxia's fourth condition was yelled out, both his eyes burned with rage, and he almost spat out blood from his throat. To a nation, ceding a territory was undoubtedly the greatest humiliation. How could his Divine Phoenix Empire suffer such humiliation? "Xianxia, don't you go too far." "Go too far?" Xianxia grimly answered. "Compared to your Divine Phoenix's gargantuan offense of attacking Blue Wind, I'm simply more benevolent than the saints and legends." He shifted his gaze toward Feng Hengkang, then sneered at the hideously warped face which had turned a greenish black. "Phoenix Sect Master, you should have heard these 4 conditions loud and clear. I'll give you 5 breaths of time to consider. If you listen obediently, this son of yours can live and I won't feel the need to come again tomorrow. However, if you're still as ungrateful as yesterday, then I can only kill him right away." Since the very start, Xianxia only showed a dull expression, and he even wore a slightly gentle smile. It was as if he was talking about something that couldn't be even more casual. Even though he was angry to the point where all the veins in his body were about to burst, Feng Feili still used the most determination he had in his entire life to stay calm, because at present, Feng Zichen's life was top priority. No matter what sorts of conditions Xianxia raised, he had to agree to them first. In fear that Feng Hengkang would explode, he quickly answered, "The life of my Divine Phoenix Prince is more important than anything else in this world." "Okay. My Divine Phoenix Sect can agree to the 4 conditions you have raised, however." "Then that's just great." Xianxia immediately turned around, beamed at Feng Feili, and cut off his later words with an arrogant voice. "A Phoenix Great Elder such as yourself is much more appreciative than that nauseating Phoenix Sect Master. Since you have already agreed, then there is no reason for me to kill your precious 13th Prince. What happens next is even more simple." He slightly loosened the left hand holding Feng Zichen as he slowly extended a finger from his raised right. "I'll give you all 10 breaths. Send a sound transmission to your troops stationed in my blue wind to all scramble back here. Your Divine Phoenix sect possesses the highest quality sound transmission jades, so it probably won't even need 10 breaths. Then, Xianxia extended a second finger. Make your Phoenix sect master pen a letter of apology immediately. Oh, it's fine if you just write it here. After you finish it, remember to stamp it with the Phoenix seal, then let your Phoenix sect master read it out loud in public. With the Phoenix sect master's unrivaled profound strength, transmitting it beyond 100 kilometers should be quite easy. I'll give you another 30 breaths of time to craft out the document about seeding Red Jade City. Stamp it with the Phoenix seal and hand it over to me directly. It's awfully easy. Lastly, I'll grant you another 15 minutes to prepare the 20 billion purple profound coins. Similarly, you'll hand it over to me directly. Not one coin can be missing. After that, your 13th prince will be able to live on peacefully. Also, you don't have any right to bargain with me. Definitely don't exceed the amount of time I have just given you as well, not even by a breath of time. How could Xianxia be ignorant of what exactly this bunch was planning? If it was so easy to trick him, then he would not have been able to survive until today. Feng Feili's already ugly expression immediately turned even uglier. Xianxia, you, don't push things too far. Oh, and just what does the Great Elder mean? Xianxia said with a cold smile. Just now, you personally agreed to the 4 conditions that I have proposed. What I just said completely tallies with the 4 conditions that I raised, and I did not attempt to exceed it in the slightest. So what is the expression that the Great Elder has on his face supposed to mean? Could it be that? The Great Elder's unreserved promises to me just a moment ago was actually just a load of hot air. Xianxia. You, Feng Feili roared angrily. His entire body quivered, but he was filled with so much anger that he could not speak any further. Feili, don't waste any more words on him. Feng Henkang finally spoke, and no matter whether it was his expression or his voice, they had become rather cold and calm. His gaze focused and intensified, but his eyes were not fixed on Xianxia. Instead, they fell on Feng Zichen, whose face was filled with fear and pleading. Chenner, listen to me. You are a prince of our divine Phoenix Empire, and in your body flows the most noble Phoenix bloodline. We can die, but we must never submit. Nor should we throw shame onto the 5,000 years of fame and prestige that belongs to our divine Phoenix Empire. Do not worry, we will definitely not let you die in vain. We will definitely, personally avenge you. Everyone, get ready to kill Xianxia. As Feng Henkang's voice fell, the sound transmission that came from him exploded in the ears of the Phoenix Elders like a thunderclap. However, not one of them moved immediately, as their eyes were filled with deep conflict and hesitation. The person in Xianxia's grasp was not just an ordinary divine Phoenix disciple, but a prince. But immediately, a pillar of Phoenix flames shot into the sky as Feng Henkang directly rushed towards Xianxia. The startling energy wave was clearly produced by all the profound energy in his body surging outwards. All the gathered elders of the divine Phoenix sect could no longer hesitate as well. All of them let out a faint cry as Phoenix flames ignited on their bodies, while they lashed out simultaneously. In an instant, numerous pillars of fire swiftly converged on Xianxia's location, as a terrifying pressure heavily engulfed the entire Phoenix city. The one who let out the wail was not Xianxia, but instead Feng Zichen, who was in his grasp. Royal father, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Ha 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 ha. Xianxia, who had been surrounded on all sides and seemed to have reached the end of his tether, actually let out a wild laugh. Feng Henkang, you think that your lowly self is worthy of all the fame that you have accrued in this life? Do you think that your lowly self has the qualifications to have a discussion about the Phoenix bloodline? There is something that you better remind yourself about right now. I am not the one who killed both of your sons. The one who killed them is you, Feng Henkang. This is the karma you reap for all the evil acts that you have committed against my blue wind. Furthermore, this is just the beginning. Attack, Feng Henkang roared. Boom, whether it was Feng Henkang or the various elders of the divine Phoenix sect, none of them dared to approach Xianxia. Instead, the Phoenix flames on their body fiercely exploded outwards at the same time. In an instant, the air above all of Phoenix City was wreathed in a sea of fire. The Phoenix flames, which originated from tens of overlords, were extremely hot, thick, and fierce, and they completely blocked out the light of the sun. Moreover, even the space in the area had been distorted out of shape. None of them had forgotten the speed that Xianxia had displayed yesterday, so they did not wait for him to appear. Instead, they intensified their Phoenix flames to their very limit and completely smothered the huge area with fire. Even if Yun Qi's speed was 10 times faster than what he had shown, he would definitely not be able to escape this conflagration. The Phoenix Sect Master and all the Phoenix Sect elders who were present had attacked at the same time. This kind of battle formation had never been seen before in the history of the Divine Phoenix Sect. Even though Yun Qi's profound strength was only at the Emperor Profound realm, he was still the single most despised and hated nemesis the Divine Phoenix Sect had ever faced. When this sea of Phoenix flames engulfed Yun Qi, they also naturally engulfed Feng Zichen at the same time. They were convinced that Yun Qi would definitely not be able to escape from the sea of flames alive. Therefore, the death of Feng Zichen was even more so a foregone conclusion. They had no choice but to sacrifice the life of yet another prince in their bid to kill Yun Qi. And even if Yun Qi had truly died, he would leave behind a stain of humiliation that could never be erased from the history of the Divine Phoenix Sect. But in the end, the Divine Phoenix Sect did not, and in fact, would never have the chance to recognize that. Simply relying on Phoenix flames would not be able to cause any bit of damage to Yun Qi. Ironically, the extremely thick and fierce flames and aura provided the best cover for him to flee safely. Feng Zichen had been casually flung aside by Yun Qi, and even if Feng Zichen was at full power, he would only survive within this conflagration for no more than 3 breaths. Thus, Feng Zichen, who had all his power sealed by Yun Qi, could only let out one last miserable scream before he was completely devoured by the flames. Just like Feng Ziluo before him, his body had been burned into tiny cinders, and there was hardly anything of him remaining. But the difference between the two cases was that Feng Ziluo was killed by Yun Qi's Phoenix Flames, while Feng Zichen was by the Phoenix Flames of his own Divine Phoenix Sect. By combining Star God's Broken Shadow with extreme Mirage Lightning, Yun Qi shot up above the sea of flames and instantly escaped its confinement. At the same time, he also completely broke out of the blockade that had been set by the Phoenix Sect elders, and afterwards, he directly shot towards the east like an arrow. As expected of the Phoenix Sect Master, truly a human-faced beast whose heart is filled with wickedness. To think that you would even kill your very own son. Perhaps not even a trace of ash remained after the pitiful 13th prince was personally burned by the flames of his own father, ha. Yun Qi, who was using extreme Mirage Lightning, had achieved a speed that left all those who were present with despair. In the blink of an eye, he had completely disappeared from their line of sight. The only thing they could hear was the deep and wild mocking laughter that Yun Qi left in his wake. This isn't possible. How could he escape from that? Impossible. All the Phoenix elders were completely dumbfounded. This scene had left them so dazed and shocked that its impact was no less than Yun Qi appearing unannounced in the middle of Phoenix City. Just now, the Phoenix Sect Master and all the elders who were present had activated the Phoenix Flame Great Formation. Under this kind of might, even if it was someone who had reached the peak of the Tyrant Profound realm, that person would still be reduced to ashes within a matter of seconds, and logically, there was no way for him to survive. No matter how strong Yun Qi was, even if he did not die, he should at the very least be severely injured. However, the speed he displayed in his escape was as fast as it was yesterday, and his voice was also as deafening and soul-shaking. Not to mention receiving heavy injuries, there was not even a hint that he had been injured at all. Feng Zichen's aura, on the other hand, had completely disappeared within the sea of flames. Feng Feili descended from the sky and arrived at Feng Henkang's side. As he spoke, every single muscle on his face twitched fiercely. "Sect Master, should we give chase?" The peerless and dreadful speed that Yun Qi had displayed was not something that any of them could keep up with. In fact, it had come to the point where Feng Feili was not completely convinced that even the retired Grand Emperor, who had not shown himself for many years, and who was also the previous Sect Master, could keep up with the speed of Yun Qi. Feng Henkang's body briefly swayed before a large amount of blood wildly sprayed out from his mouth. "Sect Master!" Feng Feili hurriedly caught Feng Henkang. All the assembled elders and princes went pale as they tripped over themselves and scrambled to Feng Henkang's side. Before his very own eyes, 2 of his sons had been killed in the past 2 days, and Feng Henkang finally understood what it meant to have his heart burn with extreme rage. His face had gone completely pale white, and his eyes had grown vague and dim as he gazed at the flames that were sputtering out in the sky. There was not a single trace of Feng Zichen remaining, and in his sorrow, he hated that he could not break down in tears. "Royal Father, please let your anger subside so as to not let it affect your health. The deaths of 13th brother and 14th brother We will definitely make Yun Qi pay them back 1,000,000 times over. Feng Ziming said in an anxious voice. We are fine. Feng Henkang brushed away the arm that was supporting him and slowly stood straight up. But he just stood there, staring off into the distance, as if his soul had left his body. Royal Father, should we? Second Prince Feng Zikang said in a cautious voice. Should we go ask Grandfather to come out of seclusion? Feng Zikang's words moved the nerves of everyone present, because this idea had just simultaneously emerged in everyone's minds. Feng Feili heavily sighed, stating, in terms of profound strength, none of us are afraid of Yun Qi. However, his speed is just. It is very likely that it is Thief God Clan's extreme mirage lightning. In the past, even though Hua Minghai was only at the late stage of the Sky Profound realm, it was still difficult for us to catch him. Regardless of Yun Qi's strength, his speed is much greater than Hua Minghai. Furthermore, with how sinister his means are, they couldn't even be mentioned in the same breath. Even though this might annoy Grand Sect Master and cause him to feel disappointed and angry, if another prince still falls into Yun Qi's hands again. Sect Master, this matter can only be blamed on our incompetence, Feng Feili said with embarrassment. Yun Qi doesn't dare to fight us head-on. He only dares to capture my sons to blackmail me. Feng Henkang spoke very slowly, and the calmness of his voice caused everyone's hearts to tremble. Does he believe that I am not capable of using the same methods to deal with him? The audience of elders and princes suddenly became dazed. Sect Master, you mean? The army was annihilated by the hands of Yun Qi. However, as of right now, Yun Qi is here. There is no way for him to protect Blue Wind Imperial City. Feng Henkang heavily grinded his teeth as bitter hatred poured out from within his eyes. Transmit orders to the East and West armies still situated in Blue Wind. Tell them to dispatch at least 200,000 soldiers from the encampment closest to Blue Wind Imperial City and start a full-speed assault. They must arrive before the sun rises tomorrow. It doesn't matter what means they use, just capture Blue Wind Imperial City. Massacre all of the people living in the city. Only that Empress must survive. Feng Henkang's words caused everyone's mind to shake. A large portion of the dark clouds in their chests instantly dissipated as well. It was clear that the reason Yun Qi had come this time was for the sake of Blue Wind Nation. Although they couldn't catch him, they could indeed easily capture his Achilles heel. Without Yun Qi's protection, it would be a walk in the park for their Divine Phoenix Army to capture Blue Wind Imperial City, as well as Empress Kang Yue, Yun Qi's formerly wedded wife. Royal Father is indeed wise. This son will send instructions immediately. Feng Ziming quickly left. Sect Master is indeed wise. Let's take over Blue Wind Imperial City and capture Empress Kang Yue. Afterwards, let's see if Yun Qi can still be so arrogant, Feng Feili hatefully said. Black Moon Merchant Guild. Another prince again? As he faced this special sound transmission formation, a faint look of astonishment appeared on Zai Jai's face as he asked, and how many from the Divine Phoenix sect has he massacred? Apart from 13th Prince Feng Zichin, his palace's 9 bodyguard disciples were also killed, a total of 10 people. However, quite a number of Phoenix sect disciples were injured during the attack, said a respectful voice through the profound formation. 10 people? Zai Jai frowned slightly. Within 2 days, he killed 2 princes from the Divine Phoenix sect consecutively. This goes to show that his hatred towards the Divine Phoenix sect must have reached the extreme. He has no reason to show any mercy, but he has only killed Feng Ziluo yesterday and another 10 people today. He's not exactly a soft-hearted person, so it's quite puzzling. 1 person, 10 people, Zai Jai ruminated upon this before he asked, when he threatened the Divine Phoenix sect today, did he raise the same 3 conditions as yesterday? No, denied the voice from the profound formation, before swiftly stating the 4 conditions raised by Yun Qi today. I see. Zai Jai slowly nodded his head and exhaled deeply. He's only 22, yet he already possesses a fearsome shrewdness. It seems not only does he want the Divine Phoenix sect to pay the price in blood, he also wants them to experience an abysmal nightmare and slowly crush their beliefs and dignity. So fearsome. Zai Jai bowed his head as information regarding Yun Qi passed through his mind. On his face, weathered with thousands of years of vicissitudes, a flash of fear appeared. The Divine Phoenix sect is undoubtedly powerful, especially since the Phoenix God had offered its protection. Not even the 4 great sacred grounds would dare to challenge them. But this time, they have truly provoked a real demon. Speaking from another point of view, he is more fearsome than the 4 great sacred grounds. Over the duration of his short speech, Zai Jai repeated the word fearsome thrice. Ever since Yun Qi left the Black Moon Merchant Guild yesterday, he had been monitoring all of Yun Qi's movements. A day had barely passed, yet his impression of Yun Qi had drastically changed again. Within the profound, cultivating world, even if there was mutual hatred, as long as there was logic and reason, those who were more experienced would have known not to burn all the bridges. This was especially true during power struggles between the sects. No matter how great the hatred was, some leeway should always be given. But as for Yun Qi, it seemed that he had total disregard for this leeway. Zai Jai's gaze swept towards the Divine Phoenix City below him as he uttered, "It is peaceful in Divine Phoenix City today." The Divine Phoenix sect must have temporarily suspended the search operation in the town. If so, then those old monsters of the Tian generation should have mobilized by now. "No auras of the sovereign profound realm have been detected yet, so it is unlikely," replied the voice through the profound formation. "A stately 5,000-year-old sect has actually been cornered into such a miserable state by a young man who is merely in the Emperor Profound realm. If it was me, I wouldn't have the cheek to bother those meditating old monsters. Yet they suffered the consecutive losses of 2 princes with the opponent was barely scratched. They should have realized that Yun Qi's speed is not something which the profound strength of the tyrant profound realm can handle by now. Could they have other devices? If this subordinate has not made an error in judgment, they have gathered the strength of 10 Phoenix Elders some 3 hours ago to construct a gigantic Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation." "A Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation?" Zai Jai frowned slightly. Of course, he knew what it was. The Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation only existed within the Divine Phoenix sect and was mainly used to punish disciples who had committed serious offenses. Once a disciple was struck with the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation, his Phoenix profound strength would be sealed for a long time, or even nullified. Any elder was able to utilize the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation, so it was unprecedented to have 10 elders constructing one together. The Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation was not as effective when used on other profound practitioners, but when used on a Phoenix disciple, he would lose all his profound strength. Although Yun Qi was not from the Divine Phoenix sect, he still possessed the same Phoenix bloodline. The profound strength he obtained from the Phoenix bloodline was naturally Phoenix profound strength. Therefore, if he were to be struck by the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation, he would also turn into a helpless lamb. In addition, this Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation was to be constructed with the combined effort of 10 Phoenix Elders. It would definitely be out of the ordinary. The effective range would likely be greatly enhanced. It would be instantly triggered once anyone stepped in, immediately sealing the person's Phoenix profound strength. With this, no matter how heaven-defying Yun Qi's speed was, he wouldn't have a chance to use it. The Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation is incomparably tyrannical. 3 years ago, there was a rumor that even Princess Snow, who possessed the body of the Divine Phoenix, was sealed within on the primordial profound arc. Zai Jai mumbled to himself. Naturally, he had no doubt Yun Qi would be doomed if the latter stepped into the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation. Even so, he had no intention to alert Yun Qi. If Yun Qi died, he would only feel pity, but at the same time, he would feel more assured. Apart from this, were there other movements from the Divine Phoenix sect? Zai Jai asked calmly. None at the moment. However, there are reports from both the eastern and western regions of Blue Wind. There is some movement from the Divine Phoenix Army stationed in the east and west of Blue Wind Imperial City. About 4 hours ago, both forces deployed around 200,000 soldiers and are rapidly advancing towards Blue Wind Imperial City. If nothing crops up, they will reach Blue Wind Imperial City by tomorrow's sunrise. Also, the supervising elders of the East and West armies are accompanying the troops. As expected, Zai Jai was not surprised at all with this development. Within such a short period of time, the Divine Phoenix sect wouldn't have discovered the existence of Xia Yuanba. His gaze shifted towards Phoenix City and sighed. Yun Qi, Xia Yuanba, those two will soon shake the entire continent. It is unfortunate that they were not born in a sacred ground, but a deplorable territory like Blue Wind. What a waste. The Divine Phoenix sect is going to suffer a big blow again. Yun Qi will surely show up at the Divine Phoenix sect again tomorrow. This time, you should personally observe and remember to bring along your profound shadow stone. Understood. Blue Wind Nation continued to be shrouded in the shadow of the Divine Phoenix Empire, with more than 70% of its territory under its control. However, as the capital was still standing, It became a final testimony proving that Blue Wind had yet to fall. The Blue Wind Imperial City, guardian of the remaining dignity of the Blue Wind Nation, experienced yet another peaceful night. But at dawn, the peace was shattered with the scream of a warning siren. Two armies are rapidly approaching from the east and west. They are showing no signs of making camp, and their number is estimated to be around 200,000 soldiers. I implore your majesty to give an order and engage the enemies. How far are they from the Imperial City? Kang Yue asked. She had learned to always be on her guard so that whenever the warning siren sounded, she would immediately show up at the Imperial Hall. About 30 miles for the army in the west and 20 miles for the troops in the east. Let our soldiers know that there is no cause for panic, and we do not need to engage the enemy. Kang Yue appeared serene, and she looked much better than before. She radiated peace from within, different from before, where she struggled to keep calm. Yuanba, brother under heaven, my husband said that the Divine Phoenix army would invade within 3 days of his departure. My husband was right indeed. Kang Yue got up and turned towards Xia Yuanba and number 1 under heaven who had arrived a while ago. Our Blue Wind's defense is weak, and we don't have the capability to suppress the Divine Phoenix army. We are counting on both of you to help resolve our city's crisis. Kang Yue was truthful about the matter and instructed Xia Yuanba and number 1 under heaven accordingly. She was not the same Princess Kang Yue who was always unsure and hesitant. He. Xia Yuanba scratched his head in embarrassment. Don't mention it, Sister Senior. I'll blast this bunch of Divine Phoenix bastards away. Brother Xia, how about you take the west and I take the east? Said number 1 under heaven. Sounds good. As soon as they ended their conversation, they transformed into blasts of storm and disappeared from the main hall. The elven race was naturally gifted with the ability to sense the world around them. Thus they possessed far stronger senses than an ordinary human. As soon as number 1 under heaven left Blue Wind Imperial City, regardless whether it was the size or distribution of the Divine Phoenix army marching from the east, he already had a clear image inside his mind. The Divine Phoenix army was marching from 20 miles away, but at the 15-mile mark, an overpowering aura surged forward at breakneck speed. The profound strength aura of 1 at the 6th level of the Tyrant Profound realm. Number 1 under heaven frowned. He summoned a violent wind and blasted forward to meet the person. Feng Laming, ranked 41st out of the 56 Phoenix Elders, was the supervising elder of the East Army. He was commissioned to a special mission besides leading the troops to battle, which was to capture Empress Kang Yue. The troops would soon descend upon the Imperial City. He sped up in an attempt to reach the Imperial City ahead of the army and capture Empress Kang Yue. With the Blue Wind Imperial City as the capital of Blue Wind Nation, even if they had 10 times more soldiers to defend the city, it wouldn't have made a difference to him. At about 5 miles away from Blue Wind Imperial City, he experienced a ripple of profound energy in front of him. A tall silhouette suddenly blocked his path, and the violent gust of wind that followed suffocated him. The figure came to a halt. The figure before him appeared youthful, and he possessed a seemingly weak aura. Feng Laming smiled scornfully. Within this tiny Blue Wind Nation, there can only be a pitiful few who would be versed in the profound floating technique. Looks like you must be a bigger fry. If you had encountered my troops first, it would have caused some minor inconveniences to us. Unfortunately, you met me, a Phoenix Elder, first. Feng Laming raised his voice and emphasized the words Phoenix Elder, but there was no shock or fear reflected on the other party's face as expected. Number 1 under heaven glanced at the blazing insignia on the other's chest as he said, "It looks like you are the supervising elder. Then once I kill you, it will make things easier later." Kill me. Haha, thunderous laughter had barely erupted from Feng Laming's mouth when a murderous aura suddenly wrapped around his entire body, as a jade-green profound energy storm exploded towards his chest. Despite having lived for a few hundred years and exchanging blows with countless other practitioners who cultivated wind profound energy, the strength of the incoming violent wind profound energy was something he had never experienced before. Based on the level of profound strength, Feng Laming was weaker than number 1 under heaven. Because he had underestimated his opponent, he was left unprepared. The assault from number 1 under heaven was a sudden close-range attack. It was virtually impossible for Feng Laming to react and defend himself. He hastily retreated and managed to at least recompose himself with barely 60% of his full strength. Within the cacophony of the storm, Feng Laming screamed as his entire chest was forcibly depressed by nearly 3 inches in a split second. His face was bloodied beyond recognition, and his body was littered with hundreds of tiny cuts. Feng Laming retreated with one hand clutching his chest and the other shielding his eyes. He shrieked in pain, You beast! I'm going to kill you!" While he was shrieking, Number 1 under Heaven exploited the moment and rushed forward with roaring winds surrounding his body. Each strike he exerted stirred up a tempest with a powerful killing aura. Feng Laming used his phoenix flames to defend himself with all his might, but he was slowly pressured to retreat. The tempest cut open more and more wounds on his body, and he was quickly drenched in his own blood. When juxtaposed, Feng Laming should not have been defeated so quickly, and easily, since the gap between their profound strengths weren't much to begin with, not to mention that he had an added advantage with his phoenix flames. It was the infamous arrogance of the divine phoenix sect that costed him dearly. Boom! A loud bang echoed out as Feng Laming was tossed 2 miles away by a profound energy storm. He slammed onto the ground, forcing him to cough out blood. His whole body was bloodied, as if he had just climbed out from a pond of blood. He stood up with great difficulty and stared at the approaching Number 1 under Heaven with clouded eyes. He could not believe that a stately phoenix elder like himself would be defeated by a young man in such a lowly place like Blue Wind. "This damned Blue Wind bastard," Feng Laming murmured in pain and fear. The reflection within the pupil of his eyes grew larger as he sensed that death was looming over. Suddenly, his eyes turned ferocious as 10 feet of scarlet flames blazed from his body. Even his hair and blood were all burning. "I was only interested in capturing that Empress and wasn't intending to show any of my moves. But you, a Blue Wind trash, dared to hurt me." Feng Laming glared, expressing all his hatred and fear, as well as a vestige of glee. The intensity of flames on his body surged, almost covering the entire sky. "All of you, including that Empress, burn into ashes. This is the price to pay for offending this elder, ha 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 ha." The phoenix flames, which obfuscated the sky, blasted toward the direction of Blue Wind Imperial City with a thunderous clap. This was a flame cast by a berserk overlord, whose profound energy released raging flames that burned everything with a vengeance furthermore. These were phoenix flames. Should this flame land at the heart of Blue Wind Imperial City, it would raise a large half of the city. Number 1 under Heaven frowned tightly. He quickly backed away using the wind surrounding his body. Even if he used all of his strength, it would be difficult to dissipate all of the phoenix flames. At this point in time, the silhouette of the divine phoenix army could be seen in the distance. An idea formed in his mind as he bellowed, spreading open the elvish wings hidden behind him in a blink of an eye. A heaven-shrouding typhoon swiftly formed, shifting the clouds in the sky, violently lifting the ground within a several-mile radius. With a loud roar, the apocalyptic typhoon raged towards the wall of flames. The collision of wind and flame did not cause any explosion of profound energy, but instead an integration. Under the battering storm, the originally complete phoenix flames were shredded into countless smaller pieces. The speed with which it was traversing towards Blue Wind Imperial City decreased, stopped, and reversed. With the momentum of the typhoon, it gradually accelerated towards the east. Feng Laming's eyes bulged as he roared in despair. But louder than his roar was the thundering of the divine phoenix army behind him. The shredded phoenix flames were ruthlessly hurtled towards the divine phoenix army as if they were falling meteors. The divine phoenix army, which had desperately marched day and night, barely saw the outline of Blue Wind Imperial City before encountering this massive firestorm. In mere seconds, the vast divine phoenix army was torn apart and decimated. This was not any ordinary profound flame. It originated from the supervising elder's phoenix flames. Once there was contact, even if it was a tiny flame, it would quickly incinerate everything on its path. It was beyond the soldier's means to extinguish the flames. The phoenix flames unleashed by Feng Laming was already very powerful by itself, but coupled with Number 1 under Heaven's typhoon, which shredded the flames rained down over an extensive area, covering almost the entire divine phoenix army. In just a short span of time, almost 70% of the divine phoenix army was burned alive. Those fortunate enough to not come into contact with the flames did not dare to advance a single step further. They screamed in fear and withdrew, completely terrified of the flames. You! Bearing witness to the downfall of his army, Feng Laming trembled as he pointed his finger at Number 1 under Heaven. Suddenly, he coughed out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes rolled backwards. In the next moment, he eventually collapsed. Number 1 under heaven flipped over his palm, and 3 emerald green profound arrows shot from his fingertips. The first drove into Feng Laming's throat, and the other 2 into his heart. Only until Feng Laming ceased breathing did Number 1 under heaven passively turn his gaze away. "Bring along your companions' bodies before you leave," Number 1 under heaven said softly. He waved his arm, summoning a gust of strong wind which lifted Feng Laming's and numerous other soldiers' corpses, throwing them several miles to the east. The bodies crushed the remaining Divine Phoenix soldiers who were attempting to flee. Throughout the whole process, Number 1 under heaven did not notice that he was secretly being watched by someone hidden from afar. "Transparent wings," the shadowy figure was shocked as he softly exclaimed, seemingly racking his brain. Just then, a fierce aura seeped in from the west. The figure was startled and quickly drew in all his aura. He held his breath and even closed his eyes from his body. Forget about his aura. Not even a hint of his life force leaked out. "As expected of you, Brother Xia, it looks like you've finished with the Divine Phoenix army in the west." Number 1 under heaven smiled as he turned towards the approaching Xia Yuanba. "Heh, Brother under heaven is fast too. There's a huge fire over there. Oh, looks like there are quite a few escaping. Let me go settle them." "No need." Number 1 under heaven stretched a hand out to stop Xia Yuanba from giving chase. He shook his head and said, "They are merely soldiers acting upon orders. They are not aggressive and will pose no threat to us, so there is no need to kill all of them." "All right." Xia Yuanba agreed immediately before he casually added, "But if it was my brother-in-law, he would have annihilated them. In the past, when I was much weaker, my brother-in-law said that the most foolish thing to do in this world was to show mercy to your enemy. But that was when I was still immature and did not understand things." "Heh, that sounds like him indeed. But it doesn't matter if you kill them all or show them mercy. It's just a matter of principle, and there is no right or wrong," Number 1 under heaven said with a laugh. "Those flames over there were released by the supervising elder, and I pushed it to the army. Otherwise, based on my ability, I would have been unable to eliminate such a huge army so quickly. Brother Xia, was there a supervising elder at your side?" "This, I don't know. I just casually did a few moves and then there was no one left. I thought the corpses might be unsightly, so I buried them all, so I wouldn't have been able to spot any elder," Xia Yuanba said, blinking. Number 1 under heaven was slightly surprised and laughed. "Ha ha ha ha, based on Brother Xia's capability, it was an inevitable outcome. It'll be dawn soon, so let's go back. The Divine Phoenix army shouldn't be attempting another invasion in the near future. We shall wait patiently in the city for Brother Yun's good news." "Of course, with brother-in-law's amazing ability, he will only bring us good news," Xia Yuanba said confidently. As the two of them turned to return to Blue Wind Imperial City, Xia Yuanba suddenly paused his steps and gazed towards the south. Aside from the random distribution of rocks, the south was empty as far as the eye could see. "What's wrong?" Number 1 under heaven cautiously asked. "Oh, it's nothing." Xia Yuanba turned back as he said, "It might have been a small, frightened creature that hid under the rocks. Let's hurry back. Brother-in-law specifically told us not to leave senior sister too far away from us." As the sky brightened, Xia Yuanba and Number 1 under heaven flew back to Blue Wind Imperial City. After some time, a skinny figure dressed completely in black emerged and collapsed from the huge rock, which caught Xia Yuanba's attention. The figure fiercely breathed in a couple of deep breaths. After a long rest, it stood up, and like a ghost, it swiftly and quietly left. To the south of Divine Phoenix City, Yun Qi was meditating in a cave located in some remote mountain. Both his eyes were closed shut, as all the profound energy in his body faintly vibrated. A hazy small pagoda slowly rotated above his head while letting out intermittent flashes of dull golden light. When he opened his eyes, the sky had already grown bright. Yun Qi stood up, feeling completely clear-headed and invigorated. The profound energy within his profound veins were extremely abundant as well. Now that the great way of the Buddha had reached this stage, he did not need to sleep anymore. Whenever he concentrated on cultivating the great way of the Buddha, spending a few minutes in absorbing the nourishment provided by the energy of heaven and earth would be equivalent to several hours of sleep for a normal profound practitioner. Or perhaps one could put it this way instead. He no longer needed to intentionally cultivate the great way of Buddha, for even normal sleep counted as cultivation for him. To think that this night went by so peacefully, it looks like the Divine Phoenix sect has already given up on trying to find me. Yun Qi muttered to himself as he looked in the direction of Divine Phoenix City. So that is to say that those old freaks who are in the sovereign profound realm have finally decided to make an appearance. Do not underestimate the Divine Phoenix sect just because you have gained the upper hand in the past few exchanges. Jasmine warned him in a cold voice. I have already sensed the aura of someone who is in the late stages of the sovereign profound realm, and there is more than one of them. Don't worry, if I was the kind of person who routinely underestimated his enemies, I would have already died 1,000 times over. HMPH, haven't you died enough times already? Are you still going to try to infiltrate the city today? Jasmine asked. There's no need. Xianxia floated into the air before taking off in the direction of the Divine Phoenix sect. When it comes to things like surprises, once is enough. If you do it again, it loses its flavor. At this moment, an extremely cold and sinister smile lit up on Xianxia's face. I have already given several chances to the Divine Phoenix sect. The benevolence I have shown them the past 2 days could be counted as me repaying the favor to Zur from today onwards. I will let them understand what a true nightmare is. Xianxia was flying at such an extreme speed that he left a howling gale blustering in his wake. Soon, the silhouette of Divine Phoenix City quickly grew clearer and clearer. What he planned to do today was going to be the same as yesterday. Bright and early in the morning, he would directly go knock on the doors of the Divine Phoenix sect. Xianxia approached boldly as he swept across the skies above Divine Phoenix City and rushed towards Phoenix City itself. As Xianxia was using extreme mirage lightning ability, all the people in the area could only hear an incomparably sharp cry above their heads, and when they raised their heads to look for the origin of the noise, they could only barely make out a black dot that was swiftly disappearing from their vision. When Xianxia had slowed down, Divine Phoenix City was already right in front of him. Divine Phoenix City sure is peaceful today. It seems that all the Divine Phoenix disciples who were looking for me have ceased all their activities and have been ordered to return. It looks like today I will be going up against several old freaks who are in the sovereign profound realm. Even though he said this, Xianxia's face didn't show any hint of concern. Although he might be incapable of defeating the monarchs of the Divine Phoenix sect, given his extreme speed, only the little demon empress could catch up to him under the blue sky. Even if the rulers of the 4 sacred grounds were to try, they would not find it an easy task to catch up to him. And for the time being, the Divine Phoenix sect had not produced an individual that was as strong as a ruler of one of the sacred grounds. Looks like you're going to be disappointed. The aura of those dozen-odd monarchs are still at their original location, Jasmine said blandly. Ah, Xianxia had an astonished look on his face. That shouldn't be the case. I killed 2 of their princes, but they did not even manage to put a scratch on me. And today, they even directly called off their search. Even if that Feng Henkang was a teenage mutant ninja turtle, he shouldn't be unwilling to call those old monsters out of seclusion. Could it be that he has prepared some other scheme? There is a very well-hidden profound formation that is centered within a 1-kilometer radius around the heart of Phoenix City. Jasmine had discovered this hidden profound formation, which required 16 hours, and the effort of nearly all the Divine Phoenix elders to set up with a glance. And her tone even clearly carried a note of disdain. This profound formation should have been specially prepared for you, and the aura of the profound formation is very similar to the sealing profound formation that was used on Princess Snow in the primordial profound arc 3 years ago. Phoenix sealing imprisonment formation, Xianxia said as his brows sank. 3 years ago, Feng Feili had hit Feng Zur with the Phoenix sealing imprisonment formation, and even though his bloodline and profound strength was inferior to her, all the profound energy in her body had still been sealed for 24 hours. It was clear just how tyrannical this profound formation was. No wonder they did not ask those old monsters to come out of seclusion. They have actually prepared such a large present for me. Xianxia gave a cold laugh. Such a gigantic phoenix sealing imprisonment formation, they are really willing to go all out. But it looks like I have to be a little bit more careful now. Careful? HMPH, this is simply laughable, Jasmine said with a contemptuous little laugh. Your profound veins have been cast by the indestructible blood of the evil god. They are the evil god's profound veins. In this world, unless it's power that is on the same level as the gods, then there is simply no power capable of sealing or suppressing your profound veins. This pitiful phoenix sealing imprisonment formation is only a mere joke in front of the evil god's profound veins. Oh, so it's like that. Huh, Xianxia said with wide open eyes before he subtly nodded his head and murmured in a hushed voice. Yeah, I recall that it was something like this. mighty heavenly sword regions, heaven's might soul-suppressing formation, which could even forcibly suppress the power of his grandfather, Yun Kanghai, who was in the late stages of the sovereign profound realm, did not even have any effect on him who was only at the earth profound realm at that time. So no matter how powerful this phoenix sealing imprisonment formation was, it could not possibly be stronger than the heaven's might soul-suppressing formation, right? Yun Qi had all his fears put to rest, and with a flicker, he had already rushed into Phoenix City. What? All of our forces were obliterated? The news that came from Blue Wind Nation sent Feng Henkang into a complete rage. Because of Yun Qi, his mood was already as low as it could get. But just as day broke, he received yet another piece of completely unexpected and calamitous news. This isn't possible, Feng Henkang said gravely. Yun Qi is clearly in our Divine Phoenix Empire right now. With Yun Qi gone, how can a mere Blue Wind Nation withstand the might of our Divine Phoenix army? Just what is going on? Could it be that Yun Qi actually made his way back to the Blue Wind Imperial City in the span of a single night? The Western Army and the Eastern Army each had 200,000 troops, and they rushed towards Blue Wind Imperial City through the night, so they roughly arrived at their destination sometime this morning. After Western Army had sent news that they were approaching Blue Wind Imperial City, there was no further news from them, even from the supervising elder who was with them. It was exactly the same as the Middle Army who had disappeared before. The elder supervising the Eastern Army, Feng Laming, also fought with someone, and he met a crushing defeat. In his despair, Feng Laming most likely ignited all of the profound energy in his body in a bid to incinerate Blue Wind Imperial City, but it was rebounded back on our army by his opponent's exceedingly strong wind profound energy, causing the Eastern Army to suffer terrible casualties, and in the end, only 40,000 troops were able to get out of that bloodbath alive. Feng Farron said solemnly, "Wind profound energy. Could it be that there is another powerhouse besides Yun Qi and Blue Wind Nation who exceeds our Divine Phoenix Elders?" Feng Henkang's face grew darker and darker by the second. Yun Qi had never used wind profound energy before, so this person was naturally not Yun Qi. But an elder of his Divine Phoenix sect was an invincible existence who could do as they pleased within the profound Sky Seven Nations. For Blue Wind Nation to produce one Yun Qi was already shocking enough, and this had even sent shockwaves throughout the entire profound Sky continent. So how could there be someone else like him? That person is indeed not Yun Qi. As for his identity, I will dispatch people to swiftly investigate it for us. It's just that the Middle Army has completely fallen, and the Western and Eastern Army have also suffered heavy casualties. So the morale of the troops garrisoned in the Blue Wind Nation has severely plummeted. Ah, Feng Farron let out a long sigh after speaking. That doesn't really matter anymore. The Crown Prince Feng Ziming spoke of words that would cause any outsider to have serious misgivings over the whole affair. In any case, we have practically already gotten what we wanted to obtain, so even if we pull out our troops now. But Yun Qi must definitely die, Feng Henkang said in a voice filled with hatred. At that very moment, a nightmarish voice that came from the outside swiftly followed Feng Henkang's furious outburst. "All you old dogs of the Divine Phoenix sect, your granddaddy Yun Qi has come to pay you a visit, so what are you waiting for? Hurry up and welcome me." Yun Qi! The rage-filled Feng Henkang immediately located where the source of the voice came from. All the hair on his head nearly instantly stood on end, and the phoenix mark on his forehead appeared as it began to burn violently. This time, Yun Qi's voice had not come from the middle of Phoenix City, but he was at its gates. This clearly showed that he could not be bothered to silently infiltrate the city the way he did yesterday. Instead, he brazenly swaggered up to the city gates and even announced his arrival with a shout, as if he was scared that the Divine Phoenix sect would not discover his presence. This was clearly and undoubtedly the naked contempt that Yun Qi had for the Divine Phoenix sect. "We will definitely personally rip him to pieces this very day." Feng Henkang had already said those words far too many times, and every time he uttered them, his hatred for Yun Qi would grow by leaps and bounds. Just as he was about to rush out, Feng Farron Swifty held out a hand to restrain him. "Sect Master, please keep your cool for the moment. We have completely relaxed our guard and recalled all the disciples back from their search efforts. We did all of this in order to tempt him to infiltrate our city in the same manner he did yesterday, so we could trap him in the Phoenix Sealing imprisonment formation. But it seems like our plan has come to naught, as his voice is clearly coming from the city gates. And no matter whether the profound technique he is using is extreme mirage lightning or not, his speed is definitely not something we can catch up to. So the most dependable method we can rely on to capture him is to lure him into the midst of the Phoenix Sealing imprisonment formation. Feng Henkang stopped in his tracks as his gaze swept across every single person who was present before it finally fell on Ninth Prince Feng Zilin. Zir, among all of our sons, besides Feng Ziming, you are the one who is the steadiest and also the one who has the most leadership qualities. If we were to hand over this heavy duty to you, would you dare to take it? Feng Zilin strode forward and said without a hint of hesitation, "This son will definitely not disappoint our royal father." "Good." Feng Henkang heavily nodded his head and said, "With just these words of yours alone, you have already fully lived up to our expectations. Do not worry, Zichen and Ziluo have already suffered at the vicious hands of Yun Qi, so we will definitely not allow any more of you to meet the same end." The Phoenix Sealing imprisonment formation was constructed using the strength of 36 of our elders, so even your grandfather would have a hard time resisting it if he was ensnared by it. If you can lure Yun Qi inside of it, even if he has the ability to traverse the heavens, he can still forget about escaping again. Boom. Feng Henkang shot into the air with a furious conflagration trailing behind him. Several thick roofs of the main hall instantly crumbled in his wake. Yun Qi floated in the air directly above the gates of Phoenix City. Both his arms were crossed over his chest, and his face was still calm and disdainful. The expression on his face was the one that made all the divine Phoenix disciples enter a frenzy, inducing their desire to directly rip that smirk off his face. All of the divine Phoenix elders took action at the same time as well, but they did not surround him like they did yesterday. Instead, they scattered across the air above Phoenix City while they locked onto him using their eyes and their auras. Behind each wave of elders was a prince that they were protecting. It was clear that after two princes had died one after the other at the hands of Yun Qi, the divine Phoenix sect had now become exceedingly cautious. Every prince had several elders by his side protecting him, as their only fear was that Yun Qi would once again move against one of the princes. They had even thought of hiding all the princes in another location, but the safest and most secure place in the entire divine Phoenix Empire also happened to be this Phoenix City. Compared to the past 2 days, when Yun Qi once again appeared today, all the divine Phoenix sect members, from the elders to the lowliest disciples, felt a deep spike of fear and apprehension lodged in their guts. When he had arrived on the first day, the only thought that flitted through their minds was that he was seeking his own death. But within the span of 2 days, he had been able to kill 2 princes of the divine Phoenix sect consecutively despite nearly all the elders being present. Not only did he not lose his life in the process, he had hardly even received a single scratch. This was the first time someone had trampled upon the dignity and might of the divine Phoenix sect. When he saw Feng Henkang arrive, Yun Qi's gaze immediately turned towards him. "Feng Henkang, it is a beautiful day once again, and we have also met once more. So why don't you take a guess as to whether you will be losing another one of your sons today?" This kind of greeting would cause even a normal person to instantly go up in flames, much less the divine Phoenix sect master. Feng Henkang gritted his teeth so hard that they bled. Only when he had forcibly suppressed the urge to recklessly rush towards Yun Qi, so that he could rip him to pieces, that he spoke to him in an extremely low voice. "Yun Qi, you killed 2 of our sons, and as for this debt of vengeance and hatred that we owe you, we will definitely make you pay 10,000, no, 100,000 times for it. Hee hee." Yun Qi gave a bland and cold smile. "Whether you even have the ability to avenge your sons' deaths is something that I do not know. But the debt of vengeance and hatred that your divine Phoenix sect owes my Blue Wind Nation for killing my royal father and trampling all over our citizens is something that I will make you pay off with the blood of every single one of the princes of your divine Phoenix sect. However, I, Yun Qi, am not a person who revels in killing other people. At least not to the point where I would be a human-faced beast like you, divine Phoenix sect master. Not to the point where I would be willing to harm the thousands of people in my Blue Wind Nation in order to fulfill my own selfish desires. I came from many miles away to your divine Phoenix Empire just so that I could take back something that is owed to my Blue Wind Nation. As long as all of you sincerely and honestly agree to implement all of the conditions that I had proposed, I would not even be bothered to take a step into your divine Phoenix sect. So if you still refuse to repent until you see a coffin," Yun Qi's mouth curled up into a cold smile filled with killing intent. I will not be able to guarantee which son of yours will die today. Every single one of the 4 conditions proposed by Xianxia yesterday was designed to humiliate the divine Phoenix sect and cause the dignity of the nation to hit rock bottom. And let us not talk about Feng Henkang agreeing to it, because just even thinking about it caused him to nearly go into rage-induced frenzy. This added to the bone-piercing hatred he had for Xianxia because he had killed 2 of his sons, resulted in Feng Henkang being unable to maintain his cool when he faced Xianxia now, even if he used all his willpower to do so. Moreover, in the past 2 days, a prince had been taken captive by Xianxia each day. But today, he had come alone without any captives, while all the elders, pavilion lords, hall masters, protectorates, and high-level disciples had moved at first notice, and everyone was on their highest guard. Today's situation was completely different to how it was for the previous 2 days. How could they let Xianxia do whatever he wanted yet again? Feng Henkang's eyes burned with the fire of hatred, and he yelled in a low voice, "Fei Farron, regardless of the cost, use all your power to capture him." The instant Feng Henkang's voice fell, both Feng Fei and Feng Farron, who were behind him, shot into the air as they zoomed in on where Xianxia was. As the new great elder and second elder of the divine Phoenix sect, they had the greatest profound strength among all the current elders of the divine Phoenix sect, and they were both at the peak of the tyrant profound realm. If they had met with enough fortunate circumstances, it was possible that they would step into the sovereign profound realm within the next century or so. "Xianxia, you brat, prepare to die." The instant the both of them shot into the sky, all the profound energy in their bodies exploded outwards without reserve. The phoenix flame that filled the air as a result bathed more than half of the divine Phoenix sect in a crimson-red light, and their speed had also reached the very limits of what they were capable of. Their profound energy and mental energy had doggedly locked onto Xianxia. But what they were unaware of was that even though Xianxia's profound strength was only in the Emperor Profound realm, the suppressive aura of the Tyrant Profound realm did not work on him at all. So the moment Feng Fei and Feng Farron took to the air, Xianxia also made his move, the instant right before this. He was still crossing his arms over his chest with a cold smile playing on his face, while no profound energy rippled across his body, but the very next instant, without seeing him make any moves at all, his whole body suddenly became illusory as another figure immediately appeared a dozen or so meters away. His movement was so fast that it practically seemed like teleportation / it was practically teleportation. This kind of speed even exceeded the limits of what a practitioner of the Tyrant Profound realm could capture with his eyes. In addition, before the yells of the onrushing Feng Farron and Feng Fei had receded, the scene blurred before their very eyes. They completely lost the target that was previously in their sights, and even the aura lock that they had targeted Xianxia with had been completely shaken off. As the strongest among all the elders within the divine Phoenix sect, both of them had been through many battles, yet at this moment, they both had identical blank stares on their faces. When they had locked onto Xianxia's location once again, he was already more than 150 meters away from where he used to be. Furthermore, before the two of them fell into shock because of that lightning speed, their expressions abruptly changed as they roared anxiously, "Protect the 11th Prince!" The direction Xianxia was heading in was where the 11th Prince, Feng Zimin, was located. The 6 divine Phoenix elders in front of him formed a tight barrier, and behind them, there were still many hall masters and the hundreds of disciples who were under the tutelage of these 6 elders. Xianxia was so fast that his speed was nearly unfathomable, and the people who were in other locations were not fast enough to rush over and provide support. The 6 elders, who were put on the highest alert the moment Xianxia suddenly started rushing in their direction, simultaneously took action with flawless teamwork even before he drew near. They attacked him from 6 different angles as they tried to ensure that he could not even advance an inch towards them. As Xianxia approached with lightning speed, he hardly slowed down in the face of the 6 elders' attacks. The moment he was within 15 meters of them, 5 afterimages immediately appeared, causing the 6 elders to instantly lose track of their target. Regardless of their stance, an instance of stagnation and disorder appeared in their attack patterns. Boom, Phoenix flames blew apart and covered the entire sky with scattered flames. Amidst the firelight, Xianxia's afterimages disappeared simultaneously, and a scream of terror rang out from behind the 6 elders. "Ah!" The 6 elders turned around at lightning speed, their eyeballs protruding and their entire bodies shaking. The greatest expression of alarm and incredulity they ever had in their lives appeared on their faces, 11th Prince. This isn't possible. Just when did how is this possible? 11th Prince Feng Zimin, whom they had securely protected, had at this very moment fallen into the hands of the enemy. His actions, state, and even the look on his face was exactly the same as Feng Zichen's yesterday. And the person who stood at his side was Xianxia himself. The moment Xianxia had rushed in his direction, Feng Zimin immediately grew ashen-faced, and he anxiously circulated all the profound energy in his body. But his profound strength, which was only at the 4th level of the Emperor Profound Realm, amounted to nothing in the face of Xianxia's might. Not only that, but given Xianxia's lightning speed, he was not even given the opportunity to release it as Xianxia's blow smashed against his dantian and instantly suppressed his profound energy, causing him to become completely helpless and weak. He did not even have the strength to stand straight anymore. All the 6 divine Phoenix Elders, who were in the mid to late stages of the Tyrant Profound Realm, were unable to see or feel how Xianxia had suddenly appeared behind them. The 6 of them had banded together to protect the 11th Prince, but in one instant the other party had, in just a single instant, captured the 11th Prince. The 6 of them had combined all their power to attack Xianxia, but they had not even singed the corner of his robe. 11th Prince, Minner, the exact same scene, the exact same circumstances, and the exact same nightmare played itself out for the 3rd time before the eyes of the entire Divine Phoenix sect. The first time it happened, they could console themselves by telling themselves they had been caught unaware by Xianxia's sudden and explosive speed. The second time they could console themselves by saying that it was all down to Xianxia's insidiousness and ingenuity, as he used a special method to avoid all detection, while he infiltrated deep into the sect in order to take Feng Zichen captive. But this time, Xianxia had made a brazen appearance, and not only had he not launched a surprise attack on the Divine Phoenix sect, he had even loudly announced his presence to everybody. After that, he was basically surrounded by all the people within the Divine Phoenix sect, while they had also made every preparation possible and taken every precaution, giving the various princes the highest degree of protection that could be afforded. Yet, Xianxia had in the span of 3 breaths of time, just merely 3 breaths of time, easily capture his 3rd prince. Every single hair on Feng Henkang's body trembled, and the spirits of every single divine Phoenix Elders and disciples had been severely shaken. Their present mood at the time was unable to be described with any words. They were the Divine Phoenix sect, an existence that was second only to the 4 sacred grounds, the strongest of the Profound Sky 7 nations, and the only power within the Profound Sky continent that possessed the bloodline of a divine spirit. They had the ability to cover the sky with one hand, had accrued 5,000 years of glory and fame, and not a single person within the Profound Sky 7 nations dared to disobey them. But today, all the glory and might that they had was turned into a complete and utter joke by a young man of only 22, a young man who had come from the lowliest Blue Wind Nation. At this time, the Blue Wind Nation had already given birth to 3 monarch-level powerhouses. The first was Xianxia, and the other 2 were Xia Yuanba and Fen Juchen. Given their current strength, Xianxia was weaker than both Fen Juchen and Xia Yuanba. But if either Fen Juchen or Xia Yuanba had come to confront the Divine Phoenix sect, neither of them would have caused the sect to become so dejected and depressed. It was even possible that the both of them would have been heavily wounded, or even lose their lives, when the Divine Phoenix sect began to box them in. The difference between them and Xianxia was that Xianxia had the extreme mirage lightning and the star god's broken shadow techniques to protect him, and the agility and speed afforded to him by combining both techniques was something that even Xia Yuanba and Fen Juchen put together were not able to compare with. At this point, he had not yet directly faced off with a single Divine Phoenix Elder in battle, but he had already caused the Divine Phoenix sect to plunge into a crisis, while causing Feng Henkang to collapse multiple times. Only speed could not be broken, and no matter what plane one was on, it was an unalterable truth. Xianxia! Feng Henkang's voice was trembling, and his whole body was shaking so vigorously it was as if he was caught in a bone-piercingly cold wind. The hatred in his heart had practically caused his entire body to ignite. He mumbled that name as if he wanted to grind it to bits with his own teeth. The Divine Phoenix Elders had once again formed a circle around Xianxia, but they kept looking at each other as they shot glances at Feng Henkang, their twisted faces filled with helplessness. Facing Xianxia, who held the life of the 11th Prince in his hands, they did not even dare utter a single threat. "Royal Father, Master, save me, save me." Just like Feng Zichen yesterday, Feng Zimen's face was as white as a sheet as he yelled in despair. The divine Phoenix princes, who were accustomed to a life of luxury, and receiving the admiration and respect of all those around them, were far more cowardly in the face of death compared to the average person. The great elder Feng Farron stepped forward as he strove to stay completely calm. "Xianxia, you..." As he had just opened his mouth, a voice that was like thunder pealed through the air. "Xianxia, you son of a bitch, let go of my 11th brother." The miserable deaths of 2 princes was sufficient to let the divine Phoenix sect clearly see just what kind of temperament Xianxia had. So this angry curse that had come out of nowhere did not ease their frustration in the slightest. On the contrary, all of their hearts started racing faster out of shock, and they all turned towards the west. This furious curse had come from the center of Phoenix City, and the one who had yelled was shockingly the 9th prince, Feng Zilen, who stood there by himself. The moment Xianxia had come, all the attention had been solely focused on him, so no one really noticed where Feng Zilen had disappeared to. So his sudden and furious rebuke had given all the gathered elders a huge shock, and the nearest divine Phoenix elder swiftly said in a serious voice, "9th Prince, do not agitate him. He is a madman who is capable of doing anything." The scenario that they were most afraid of had come to pass, and as Feng Zilen's yell began to recede, Xianxia's gaze shot past everyone to land squarely on Feng Zilen's body. Everyone present could instantly feel a bone-chilling and heart-piercing murderous intent fill the air. In this world, there were many people who dared to insult me in such a manner, but no matter who they were in the end, the one common point that they had, Xianxia said in a merry/cheerful voice, was that they all died miserable deaths, and those who didn't die suffered fates even worse than death. Xianxia's mental strength was so many times stronger than Feng Zilen's that it did not even merit a comparison, so how could a mere Feng Zilen endure his gaze? Under Xianxia's cold gaze, his body froze up completely, and his back instantly became drenched with cold sweat while his eyes even grew dazed for a moment. But he fiercely fought back against the shock and the instinctive fear that he felt spreading through his body, and once he was able to force himself to look calm, he roared, "Is this prince wrong in scolding you? Not only are you a bastard who has muddied the glorious bloodline of our divine Phoenix, you are also a vile villain who only knows how to launch surprise attacks and run away. Besides launching surprise attacks and running away, you basically have nothing else of merit, so to think that you would still have the gall to be so arrogant in front of our divine Phoenix sect. 9th Prince, do not anger him," the previous elder desperately exclaimed once more in an anxious voice. Oh, Xianxia looked at him. "So what?" Feng Zilen fought to keep his calm, and a cold and contemptuous smile appeared on his face. "The day before yesterday, you killed my 14th brother. Yesterday, you killed my 13th brother. And today, you have once again made a move against my 11th brother. Amongst all the divine Phoenix princes, these 3 brothers of mine are the weakest in terms of cultivation, and they are all only at the Emperor Profound realm. So in the end, you really only do have the capability of dealing with those who are in the Emperor Profound realm. So why don't you try to capture this prince instead, huh?" After he said this, Feng Zilen's profound energy flared up, and the profound energy aura of the first stage of the Tyrant Profound realm immediately began to swell up and spill out. Feng Zilen's words caused all the divine Phoenix elders and disciples present to be greatly shocked, and very quickly, some divine Phoenix elders noticed where exactly Feng Zilen was standing on. They immediately reacted to it, but they still strove to maintain an expression of worry and fear on their face. 9th Prince, stop wasting your words on him," a divine Phoenix elder roared. "Huh, why would this prince be scared of him?" Feng Zilen gave a haughty, cold laugh. "This bastard from Blue Wind Nation is only at the 3rd stage of the Emperor Profound realm. Furthermore, the only thing he can be arrogant about is his speed. From the very beginning of this whole ridiculous affair up till now, the only thing he has done is run. He has not even had the guts to exchange blows with any of the elders who are present. But it is truly a pity that no matter how fast he is, he will only forever be a defeated dog who is chased around by his enemies. No matter how fast a defeated dog can run, there will definitely come a time when his legs break. And once his legs are broken, then he will die as unsightly a death as his enemies want him to die." Feng Zilen insolently stretched a finger out towards Xianxia as he made an extremely disdainful hooking gesture. "Xianxia, you are merely some Emperor Profound realm trash. And even if you were 10,000 times faster than you already are, as this prince is in the tyrant profound realm, you are only a pitiful dancing clown in this prince's eyes. The only reason this prince's 3 brothers fell into your hands was because they were useless pieces of trash as well. So if they die, so be it. As for this prince, I want to see if you can do to me the same thing you did to my 3 useless royal brothers. Do you believe that as long as you come within 10 meters of this prince will have tens of methods to rip you to bits and pieces? However, this prince understands that you will not dare to do so, because for a defeated dog that only knows how to run, even if you give him 10,000 times the courage that he has right now, he will never ever dare to make a move against this prince. Ha 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 ha, ha ha. Feng Zilin was laughing wildly while Xianxia was chuckling coldly. Ever since he had arrived, he had been silently mulling over what trick the divine Phoenix sect would pull to induce him to venture into the radius of the Phoenix ceiling imprisonment formation. However, Feng Zilin's botched attempt at psychological warfare made him feel as if they were trying to insult his own intelligence. Since you are so eager to die, I shall grant your wish. Xianxia had almost burst into laughter due to excessive anger. If he did not know about the existence of the Phoenix ceiling imprisonment formation beforehand, it was possible that he would actually enter the Phoenix ceiling imprisonment formation's domain by accident. However, with Feng Ziling making such a ruckus, even if he was half as intelligent, he would become suspicious immediately and would absolutely not go near there, unless his brain had been kicked by a donkey. As for now, he obviously needed to lower his intelligence to match this level of performance. Xianxia's body shook, and he had already rushed towards where Feng Zilin was. Even though he was still holding onto Feng Zimin, his speed was still extremely fast. His silhouette produced a shadow like a shooting star across Phoenix City. Protect Ninth Prince! All of the Phoenix elders hastily rushed forward in a bid to obstruct Xianxia, of course. This was only for show. After they understood Feng Zilin's intention, they couldn't wait for Xianxia to immediately rush over. Seeing Xianxia was heading into their trap, all of them was delighted in their hearts, and their speed of rushing over was naturally half a beat slower. Xianxia was already extremely fast, and his speed was still increasing. He passed the crowd of people like lightning, leaving behind all of the Phoenix elders who were pretending to rush up behind him. SSSSS. Xianxia's abrupt halt from an extremely fast speed caused the air to produce a very sharp tearing sound. Feng Zilin quickly backed away as his whole body shuddered multiple times over and over. With a person in hand, Xianxia, who was a few miles away just a moment ago, was actually just 10 steps away from him in the blink of an eye. Feng Zilin had never seen this kind of shocking speed, even in his dreams. The shock and fear in his heart was tantamount to suddenly seeing a ghost land from the sky in broad daylight. But within the fear, there was endless joy, because the location of the Phoenix ceiling imprisonment formation was just hidden right below. In addition, the place where Xianxia stood was the core of the Phoenix ceiling imprisonment formation. Feng Henkang and the others watched Xianxia enter the domain of the Phoenix ceiling imprisonment formation, and all of them were overjoyed. Feng Henkang roared loudly, "Activate the formation!" To awaken the Phoenix ceiling imprisonment formation, only the strength of a single Phoenix elder was required. But under Feng Henkang's loud roar, more than 30 Phoenix elders who were present cast it at the same time. At that moment, the slumbering Phoenix ceiling imprisonment formation was wholly released in an instant. A Scarlet profound formation with an area of 300 meters appeared, and the area below Xianxia's feet was exactly its center. It released a bloody blaze of light, and within it, an extremely powerful sealing power rushed towards Xianxia and Feng Zilin, who were inside the formation, ready to swallow them like a hungry wolf that had just been woken up. A feeling of suppression suddenly came from Xianxia's profound veins, but this feeling only lasted for a second, before it disappeared without a trace. Across him, Feng Zilin showed a pained expression on his face. The color of blood on his face faded, and the aura of profound energy on his body disappeared like the falling tide. But not only did he not lose his head in panic, he had even reverted expression from before as he released a loud laughter. Ha 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 ha! Xianxia, even if you have an exceptional ability, you are still in this prince's hands. This is the strongest sealing formation of my divine Phoenix sect. Not to mention that you are merely in the Emperor Profound realm. Even if you are a monarch, you can only await for your death. Laughing maniacally, Feng Zilin's body swayed, and he fell on one knee because of the serious loss of strength. However, the maniacal laughter he was letting out didn't fade in the slightest. "Linner, good work." Feng Hengkong vented his frustrations through his empathic shout, even causing the ground to slightly tremble. For 2 whole days, his extreme anger, hatred, humiliation, and grievances almost shattered his internal organs. Now seeing the culprit of everything being engulfed by the sealing power of the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation, his satisfaction was so deep that it could not be described with words. "Yun-Chi, I'll see where you can still run to this time." Feng Ziming harshly roared as he also quickly approached. "Sect Master, wait till I capture him before you. This bastard will be personally punished by Sect Master to comfort the souls of 13th and 14th Prince in heaven." 18th Elder Feng Yunjai was the closest to Yun-Chi, and he had already released his profound energy as he pounced towards Yun-Chi like a big bird. He was also one of the casters of this giant Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation, and because of that, he could control the power of the formation to a large degree. Due to that, the sealing power of the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation wouldn't work on him. At this moment, Yun-Chi was still quietly standing there. There didn't seem to be much difference, but the people of the Divine Phoenix Sect now viewed him as a lamb to the slaughter, because that was the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation. It was passed down by Divine Phoenix Sect for thousands of years, and was an extremely powerful sealing profound formation. Once disciples of Divine Phoenix Sect were trapped in the formation, their profound energy would be sealed for sure, and there was absolutely no exception. Even Princess Snow, who possessed the power of the Phoenix God, couldn't escape this, even though it wouldn't be as effective on the profound practitioners outside of the Divine Phoenix Sect. It would still cause an extremely strong sealing effect. At least, it would be a lot stronger than those regular sealing profound formations. Furthermore, below Yun-Chi's feet was not just any Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation. It was a formation casted by more than 30 Phoenix Elders. The sealing power was so forceful that it could perhaps even seal a mid-stage monarch. In terms of power alone, it wouldn't be too different than the Heavens Might soul-suppressing formation from mighty Heavenly Sword region. "Yun-Chi, accept your death," Feng Yunjai roared in a deep voice. The Yun-Chi loosened his fingers, making Feng Zimin, who was held in his hand, fall to the ground. Originally, his profound energy was already suppressed severely by Yun-Chi, and in addition to the effect of the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation, he laid on the ground, motionless, only capable of releasing feeble moans from his mouth. "Ha ha ha ha, not just profound strength, you can also forget about using your physical strength." Looking at Yun-Chi, who has completely lost his strength, Feng Yunjai laughed loudly. "A devil spawn like you destroyed my sect's Phoenix God sculpture and killed 2 of our Divine Phoenix Princes. So even if you die 10,000 times, you wouldn't be able to make up for your sins. Now that you are in our hands, even if you died, you shall always remember the consequences of violating our Divine Phoenix Sect and killing our Divine Phoenix Princes." 18th Elder, don't kill him. That would be being too lenient on him, Feng Zilin yelled excitedly. "Of course we must make his life a living hell." While roaring in anger, Feng Yunjai's right hand grabbed directly towards Yun-Chi's throat, just when his palm was not even 10 meters away from Yun-Chi. The Yun-Chi who was in his sight slowly turned around and revealed a soft smile towards him. At that moment, Feng Yunjai's whole body turned cold as a ghastly feeling came down from his spine and spread to his whole body. In the next moment, he seemed to have seen Yun-Chi's silhouette move a little without any warning. Feng Yunjai felt like his chest was hit by a 10,000-ton giant hammer that came down from the sky. In his ears, a loud booming sound comparable to a landslide or even thunder came from inside his body. His originally dilated pupils could still see Yun-Chi's soft smile, but it was somehow very close to him already. Yun-Chi slowly pulled back his right fist from Feng Yunjai's chest before he casually shook his wrist. When his fist landed onto Feng Yunjai's chest, the sound it made was so loud that it could be heard by nearly half of Divine Phoenix City. It could be easily imagined just how frighteningly strong that blow was. Even if it were a huge boulder, it would have been sent flying several kilometers away. However, Feng Yunjai had not been sent flying. He did not even retreat a single step. Even when Yun-Chi had pulled his arm back, Feng Yunjai still stood there, motionless. However, the profound energy aura on his body had completely dissipated, and not even the slightest trace of profound energy could be detected. A cool breeze blew past, and Feng Yunjai's body started reclining. He stiffly fell backwards as though he was a wooden pole that had been knocked down. There was no other movement, no aura, and not even any sign of blood. There was only his frighteningly pale face, his bulging eyes, and his enlarged pupils that seemed to have taken up his entire eyeball. The originally scorching atmosphere had turned eerily cold and silent. The relieved and excited expressions that the members of the Divine Phoenix sect initially had now remained stiffly plastered on their faces. Feng Henkong, the various Phoenix elders and princes who had originally come in order to deliver judgment to Xianxia, all stood dumbfounded as though they had been struck by lightning. They stared dumbly, as though they were stone statues, at a scene that should not even exist. When Feng Yunjai directly fell down, it was as if they had just woken up from a dream. Feng Feili yelled in despair, "Yunjai, 18th elder!" "Heh!" Xianxia swung his leg out and kicked Feng Yunjai towards Feng Henkong. Feng Feili swiftly moved forward, catching Feng Yunjai in his arms. The moment he caught Feng Yunjai, his hands trembled as he sent his profound energy to examine the latter's condition. After that, his whole body started trembling. "How is Yunjai?" Feng Henkong swiftly approached. As he spoke, he put his palm onto Feng Yunjai's chest as well. After a short moment of contact, he hastily retracted his palm. The shock that appeared on his face was far more intense than Feng Feili's expression. Feng Yunjai's internal organs were all mashed, his profound veins shattered, his meridians all severed, and the bones in his whole body were all turned into dust. The outside of his body had no apparent damage, but the inside was destroyed into paste, and Xianxia merely punched him once on his chest. Feng Yunjai was currently the 18th ranked member within the Phoenix Elders, and his profound energy was as high as the 8th level of the Tyrant Profound Realm. But he had actually died so thoroughly with merely a single punch from Xianxia. "Xianxia, you... Feng Henkong's previous howls, which seemed to vent his frustrations, had only left his mouth for a few breaths of time before he had already started to think how he should handle Xianxia in order to quell the deep hatred in his heart. However, in the blink of an eye, not only did Feng Yunjai fail to take down Xianxia, the former had even died miserably in the hands of the latter. Below Xianxia's feet, the profound glow of the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation was still shining brightly. The glows of a near blood-colored seal was still enveloping his entire body. Feng Henkong did not doubt that if it was him trapped under the profound glow of the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation, his Phoenix profound energy would be completely sealed, and he would not be able to use it one bit. But Xianxia, keep laughing, keep yelling, I enjoy hearing these sounds. Xianxia's gaze glanced around as a smile appeared on his face. He was enjoying the stunned expressions of everyone before him. Impossible! Impossible! The pupils of one of the Phoenix Elders who participated in casting the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation shrunk. Unable to believe his very eyes, he mumbled in a panicked and trembling voice, "That's the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation. It's the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation." While standing inside a Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation created by more than 30 Phoenix Elders, Xianxia had casually killed a Phoenix Elder with one punch. What this brought to the members of the Divine Phoenix sect wasn't anger and humiliation, but almost a collapse in belief. Behind Xianxia, Feng Zilin's hysterical laughter came to a halt as his expression turned hideous. With his body trembling, he fell to the ground as his strength left his body. Then Xianxia stretched both his arms out, and a wave of profound aura stirred. With frightened and miserable cries, both Feng Zilin and Feng Zimin were sucked into Xianxia's hands at the same time. Xianxia did not even bother glancing at Feng Zilin. He just looked straight at Feng Henkong and slowly raised up the two choked sons. "Feng Henkong, today, I originally planned to only kill one of your sons if you're still disobedient. After all, you only have 14 sons, and killing all of them too early will spoil my fun. However, it cannot be helped if your 9th son is so courteous and cannot wait for his turn to die. Therefore, I can only fulfill his wishes." "Royal father," Feng Zilin made a weak sound. His voice was wheezy and desperate because he knew that Feng Ziluo and Feng Zichen died in the hands of the one grabbing him right now. "Two noble divine Phoenix princes, you don't need to be nervous. I didn't say that I will definitely kill both of you." Xianxia said with a sneer, "You two should be clear enough that the one deciding your life and death isn't me, but your royal father. Feng Henkong, are you preparing to still be like before and watch them die helplessly, or will you comply obediently? No matter which one you choose, I will satisfy you immediately." Feng Zimin, Feng Zilin, this time, the lives of two princes were being held in Xianxia's hands. Not only did the Phoenix Sealing Imprisonment Formation, which they spent a lot of energy and time to set up, fail to affect Xianxia in the slightest, it had even delivered Feng Zilin right into his hands. and Feng Yunjai also died horribly because of it. Before Feng Henkang's eyes were two of his sons that might die any time in the hands of Yun Qi. In his mind, the figures of Feng Ziluo and Feng Zichen, who had already died in the hands of Yun Qi, appeared not even 3 days had passed since Yun Qi had arrived. Yet he had already brought forth a nightmare that was even darker than the abyss. Feng Henkang reached out his hands in front of Yun Qi. His royal prestige, dignity, glory, pride were all completely shattered. Only anger, humiliation, hatred along with deep sorrow and helplessness were left. Let them go, I promise, all of your conditions from yesterday. After saying this sentence, Feng Henkang closed his eyes. The corners of his eyes were twitching in suffering. His decisions had already caused the horrible deaths of his 2 sons, and he already couldn't watch more of his sons die in Yun Qi's hands no matter what. Feng Henkang's words made all of the Phoenix Elders reveal an extremely aggrieved expression, but none of them spoke up to stop him. For 3 days, the Yun Qi that they saw had become even scarier one day after another. It would be good to compensate under humiliation, keep the lives of the 2 princes, and immediately let this nightmare end. All the conditions from yesterday. Yun Qi didn't laugh proudly because of Feng Henkang's answer. Instead, his face showed confusion. I don't remember telling you the conditions in order to keep the lives of these 2 sons of yours yet. What do the conditions from yesterday have to do with the ones today? You, what do you mean? What do I mean? Could it be that you, the Divine Phoenix Sect Master, actually don't understand? Yun Qi gave a cold smile as he continued to speak. I had originally come with a benevolent heart, yet you stubbornly refused to recognize what was good for you. I gave you chance after chance, but you would rather destroy these chances even at the expense of your own son's life. Could you actually be so naive to believe that the me today would still be as compassionate as the me yesterday? You, Sect Master, Feng Feili swiftly spoke. He has the lives of 2 princes in his hands right now. 13th Prince and 14th Prince have already lost their lives to his viciousness. So no matter what happens next, 9th Prince and 11th Prince must definitely not come to any harm. Furthermore, his speed is something that even gods and demons cannot fathom. If we still continue to force the issue with him, not only will the lives of 9th Prince and 11th Prince be forfeited, there might still be other princes who... The veins on Feng Henkang's forehead and arms throbbed so hard that they nearly burst as a low, bone-piercing voice came from his mouth. Then today, what must we do in order for you to let them go? Oh. Feng Henkang's response seemed to have caught Yun Qi by surprise, but in the next moment he immediately sneered. It looks like our Divine Phoenix Sect Master is finally becoming a little smarter. But truth be told, even though our Divine Phoenix Sect Master is lower than a beast, in the end he is still a human. So there has to be something that distinguishes him from a mad dog or a stupid pig. The compromise that Feng Henkang had shown through his gnashing teeth was instead greeted with an extremely venomous insult from Yun Qi. And just those few words would have caused the most common Divine Phoenix disciple to become so angry that their spleen would burst, much less their exalted Divine Phoenix Sect Master, Feng Henkang. Yun Qi casually extended his fingers and said with a face that was filled with benevolence, "Then let me give your Divine Phoenix Sect a 3rd chance. If you can comply to my conditions, then the princes will get to live. Moreover, I would hardly want to stay in this disgusting place once my demands are met. Of course, you can refuse once again. I do not mind it at all. And honestly speaking, you caused my Blue Wind Nation to be filled with rivers of blood and mountains of corpses, yet I have only killed a mere 10 over people from your side. I am truly letting you off far too lightly. The first condition." The cold smile on Yun Qi's face turned colder still, and his gaze pierced through Feng Henkang like an icy dagger. "Within 20 days, get your entire Divine Phoenix army to get the hell out of my Blue Wind Nation. No one is allowed to remain or violate our borders for the next 300 years. The second condition is that you, Feng Henkang, will personally issue an edict expressing your regret and remorse for your actions against my Blue Wind Nation. And after that, you will announce it to the world. And once you do that, you will hang this edict on the gate of your Phoenix City for at least 10 years. The third condition is to send 30 billion purple profound coins to our Blue Wind Nation as compensation. The fourth condition is that you will cede the Red Jade region that is located in the northeastern part of Divine Phoenix Nation to my Blue Wind Nation." Yun Qi, don't take things too far. After Yun Qi had stated each condition, Feng Henkang's face would grow a shade darker, and the moment Yun Qi had uttered his 4th condition, his chest had already exploded with anger, and he began roaring furiously. The time he had to withdraw his troops were shorter, while the time they were prohibited from entering had increased yet again. Not only did he have to make an edict and declare it to the entire world, now he even had to hang it on his city gate for a whole 10 years. The amount of compensation had explosively increased yet again. And what was utterly intolerable was that, yesterday, he had only requested for his divine Phoenix Empire's Red Jade City, but today, he actually dared to say that he wanted the entire Red Jade region, even though the Red Jade region was at the borders of divine Phoenix Empire. It was one of the largest mass of land within their empire, and just in terms of size alone, it was already a quarter of Blue Wind Nation. The fifth condition. Xianxia disregarded Feng Henkang's howls of anger as he coldly shouted out yet another condition. He extended one finger and pointed towards Feng Ziming, who was at Feng Henkang's side before continuing. Your divine Phoenix Empire's crown prince. If I recall correctly, his name is Feng Ziming, right? Then the last condition will be much more simpler. Cripple his profound arts, and let him follow me back to Blue Wind Imperial City as a guest for 50 years. The very last sentence that Xianxia had uttered caused all of the members of Divine Phoenix sect to go insane with rage. Withdrawing the troops, apologizing for their actions, making reparations, ceding away territory, and now he even wanted a hostage. And to top it all off, he wanted the crown prince of their Divine Phoenix Empire as the hostage. Furthermore, Xianxia wanted to destroy the profound arts that Feng Ziming had trained for 100 years, and even wanted him to stay as a hostage for 50 long years. If their Divine Phoenix Empire truly agreed to this, it would definitely cause all the previous Divine Phoenix ancestors and the 5,000-year legacy of Divine Phoenix sect to suffer the greatest disgrace and humiliation. Xianxia, cease your insanity. Feng Ziming had never expected to be suddenly targeted by Xianxia. As he originally already hated Xianxia to the very bone, this caused his entire body to shake in anger. Royal Father, this humble son is the scion of my royal father, and even if I were to die 10,000 times, I would definitely not be willing to suffer such disgrace, because it is not merely this humble son's disgrace, it would also be the disgrace of my royal father, as well as our entire Divine Phoenix Empire. The Red Jade region is not only an important territory to our Divine Phoenix Empire, it is also where our Divine Phoenix ancestor was born. So even if our Divine Phoenix Empire were to perish, we must definitely not cede it to another. Feng Ziming's emotions grew more and more agitated as he spoke, and he yelled the last few words out with all his strength. Sect Master, we must definitely never surrender our territory in such a humiliating and embarrassing manner. But the two princes, this Xianxia is clearly trying to humiliate our Divine Phoenix Empire. No matter what happens, we must definitely not reach a compromise with this person. Feng Henkang's face had turned completely red. His breathing had become extremely rough and heavy, and the utmost limits of his patience were being tested like they had never been before. 2 days ago, when Xianxia had first kidnapped a prince and stated his demands, he had nearly blown a gasket there and then. But compared to today, the Xianxia of 2 days ago practically seemed to be Buddha reincarnate. Xianxia's face did not even twitch in the face of the full hatred and anger of the Divine Phoenix sect. He instead continued in a slow and hurried manner. Feng Henkang, I will give you 5 breaths of time to consider my conditions. Either you obediently listen to me and immediately begin to honor these conditions, or the princes die. Do not even think about trying to haggle over the terms, and definitely don't try to buy more time. You only have 5 breaths of time. I will not wait an instant longer. 5. Once he had finished speaking, Xianxia immediately began his countdown. 4, 3. On one hand were the lives of the two princes, on the other hand was extraordinary shame and humiliation that they definitely could not assent to. And the time given to them to decide was only an incomparably short 5 breaths. This entire affair had undoubtedly thrown the entire Divine Phoenix sect into the fire. Sect Master! All eyes were focused on Feng Henkang right now. On one hand were the lives of the princes, on the other was the complete and utter humiliation of their Divine Phoenix Empire. So not a single one of them dared to make the decisions, and they did not even dare to utter any unnecessary words as well. 2. Xianxia once more withdrew one of his extended fingers. Royal Father, Royal Father! Feng Zilin and Feng Zimin futilely struggled as they let out wails of despair and terror. 1. Blood was seeping out between Feng Henkang's fingers, and his body had not stopped trembling since the start. Yesterday, Xianxia had already showed them to complete futility of making false promises and putting up pretenses. But if he agreed to the 5 conditions that Xianxia had made, he would definitely be condemned as a great sinner in the history of Divine Phoenix Empire. Furthermore, Divine Phoenix Empire, whose might shock the world, would be reduced to the laughingstock of the 7 nations. And after he died, he definitely would not be able to face the ancestors who had gone before him. However, if he did not agree, both his sons would definitely die, and Xianxia would return yet again. And given Xianxi's speed that even the gods and demons could not fathom, he would kill even more people, and there was a good possibility conditions that he would propose after this would become more and more cruel. 3 years ago, when he had sent troops to invade Blue Wind, he had considered the entire affair of annexing Blue Wind Nation to be a small and trifling one, and he never dreamed that he would receive such retribution in return. Xianxia, Feng Henkang growled in a low voice, "If you dare to." At this time, Xianxia withdrew his last finger and a cruel and merciless smile appeared on his face. 5 breaths of time have passed, and to be completely honest, Divine Phoenix Sect Master, I am extremely overjoyed at your answer. My 2 esteemed princes, it looks like your royal father does not regard your lives as much after all. I have given such kind and generous terms, but he still chose to send you to your deaths. And since that is the case, then there is no longer any need to keep you 2 alive. Feng Henkang and all the gathered Divine Phoenix elders went pale with shock as they shouted simultaneously, "Stop!" Boom. The only thing they received in response to their shouts were 2 eye-piercing pillars of fire. The Divine Phoenix princes, who were of most noble birth and lineage, were nothing more than lowly ants in the hands of Xianxia, and he did not hesitate in the least when it came to squashing them to death. In the midst of fierce conflagration, Feng Zilin and Feng Zimin's bodies were instantly disintegrated, and not even a trace of their ashes was left behind. "Linner, Minner!" Feng Henkang let out a heartrending wail, and his entire body propelled towards Xianxia in a crazed rage. "Xianxia, I, Feng Henkang, and you are absolutely irreconcilable." "Ha, you aren't even worthy," Xianxia said with a low and cold chuckle before he began to laugh wildly while soaring into the sky. "Feng Henkang, even though 4 of them have died, you still have 10 sons left. So do not worry, I will send each and every one of them to meet King Yama until you pay the required price. So just sit there patiently and wait." Xianxia turned around and his entire figure flew towards the west as he shot out like an arrow that left its bowstring. "Kill him! No matter what, you have to kill him!" Feng Feili howled. Amidst chaotic explosions of energy, 3 Divine Phoenix elders, who were nearest to the direction that Xianxia fled towards, took to the air and met Xianxia head-on. With 3 longswords blazing with phoenix flames, they fiercely stabbed towards Xianxia's vitals. Xianxia's eyes faintly narrowed as a dangerous cold light shone out of them. As he met the 3 onrushing Divine Phoenix elders, his speed did not slow down in the slightest. Instead, he abruptly accelerated as a scarlet light flashed in his hand. All the profound energy in his body wildly erupted, and the heaven-smiting sword swept forward to meet his enemies. Previously, when Xianxia had been surrounded and attacked by Divine Phoenix Sect, the only thing that he had done was evade and flee. So this time, when 3 Divine Phoenix elders attacked at full strength, they unconsciously expected Xianxia to use his monstrous profound movement skill to evade their attacks before fleeing away rapidly. However, what they saw instead was a scarlet sword beam which swept towards them. At first, the 3 Divine Phoenix elders were shocked, but this shock quickly turned into elation as all the profound energy in their body swelled up even more, and many long trails of fire began to snake along their swords. If Xianxia wanted to escape, given his speed, they would be helpless to stop him. However, if he wanted to directly clash with them, then as long as the 3 of them combined their strength, there was no reason why they could not heavily injure Xianxia, or perhaps even kill him on the spot. But the joy on their face only remained for an instant before it was replaced by shock and fear that only grew deeper by the second. Because the strength of the profound energy storm that was rushing towards them had exceeded their initial expectations by far too much. And when that huge, scarlet sword approached them, the phoenix flames that were burning on their bodies were actually completely suppressed and extinguished akin to a lone candle that had been blown out by the wind, and not even a single spark of flame remained. It was as if their bodies were being pushed down by a power that could cause the heavens to collapse, and in the face of this power, they felt like their bodies, which were harder than the strongest steel, were as weak and frail as an ant's. Falling moon sinking star. Boom. As though a mountain had been split apart, a huge explosive shockwave caused the earth below them to burst open. All the people who were in hot pursuit of Xianxia could clearly see the swords of the three divine phoenix elders snap at the same time. And following that, at the moment the huge sword swept past, their bodies had also been severed as well. When Xianxia made a huge ruckus in divine phoenix sect these past few days, he had always relied on his peerless and absolute speed. So naturally, the divine phoenix sect unconsciously believed that Xianxia's strength was merely speed itself. He would not have the guts, nor even the qualifications to directly confront them. But today, Feng Yunjai was blasted to death with a single punch, and now they could only stare blankly as the combined attacks of three great elders were directly smashed into 6 pieces with a single slash by Xianxia. As though they were being swept away by strong winds, the dilapidated corpses flew off to the distance, drawing 6 trails of blood that were several tens of meters long in the air. At that moment, all of the Phoenix disciples' eyes were seemingly close to fragmenting out of shock, while the Phoenix elders, whom had come together at full speed to surround him, were even more astonished, as though their souls had left their bodies. They were not just some run-of-the-mill cats and dogs, nor were they regular disciples of the divine Phoenix sect. They were Phoenix elders who held great authority in the entire sect, standing at the peak of the 7 nations in the sky-profound continent. The might of one of them alone was enough to shake the world. Yet with just a single exchange, under a single swing of Xianxia's sword, they were slashed apart like they were 3 pieces of decayed deadwood. No matter how absurd their dreams could be, this was a scene that would have never possibly occurred in their mind, but currently it was being vividly displayed right before their eyes. While everyone was shrinking back from the shock, only Feng Henkang, who seemed to have lost his rationality, did not reduce his speed in the slightest as he charged straight towards Xianxia. When Xianxia's figure reflected in his scarlet red eyes, he let out an incomparably resentful roar as the flames surrounding his entire body gathered in his right arm, carrying matchless might that could twist space itself. He struck towards Xianxia's head as he roared, "Xianxia, we want you dead. Sect Master, watch out!" The crowd of Phoenix elders were greatly astonished. The scene of 3 Phoenix elders being smashed to death with just one of Xianxia's slash was demonstrated before their eyes. And even if they could not believe what they had just witnessed, they still understood the terrifying strength one had to possess to achieve such a feat. Although Feng Henkang's profound strength was at the 10th level of the Tyrant Profound Realm, stronger than any single one of the 3 Phoenix elders whom Xianxia had killed, his strength was definitely still incomparable to the combined strength of the 3 Phoenix elders. With the terrifying strength that Xianxia exploded forth earlier, if he was determined to deal a ruthless blow, then the outcome would certainly be disastrous. Facing Feng Henkang's Phoenix flames, Xianxia revealed a cold smile. 3 years ago, Feng Henkang's strength was an existence which he could not even hope to look up to. But as of today, the level of strength between the 2 of them could be said to have completely flipped. Xianxia traversed his heavy sword to the back with his left hand. As Phoenix flames burned on his right arm, he smashed straight towards Feng Henkang with the exact same movement as Feng Henkang's and the exact same Phoenix flames as Feng Henkang's. However, his expression was much more relaxed than Feng Henkang's, and even the corner of his lips revealed a touch of heartless contempt. "With just you alone, you're still unqualified." With a loud explosion, the surrounding space violently collapsed within the fumbling waves of flames, as though a volcano had erupted in midair. At the very center where the ocean of fire exploded forth, an incomparably clear crackling sound rang. The arm that Feng Henkang threw out, under the intense charging force, instantly twisted to the back. In the next instant, his bones shattered directly from the center. An even stronger aftershock followed after, striking straight at his chest. Feng Henkang's Phoenix armor was instantly disintegrated into dust, and his entire body was sent flying away like a cannonball. "Sect Master!" Several Phoenix elders hurriedly charged forward to receive Feng Henkang. In the moment the arms of the person who caught Feng Henkang up front made contact with him, before he could even heave a sigh of relief, his expression gravely changed. The immense force that was transmitted to his arms had completely surpassed his expectations. In an instant, his arms were blown away as Feng Henkang's body ruthlessly smashed into his chest. A crackling sound echoed out as a large portion of his breastbone shattered and sank, and a large mist of blood sprayed onto Feng Henkang's body. The 2 people stuck together and ruthlessly crashed onto the ground. Under the earth-shattering exploding noise, a large crater 30 meters deep was formed. This scene made all of the rushing Phoenix Elders to vehemently suck in a cold breath. Xianxia had already grabbed onto the heaven-smiting sword and descended from the skies, aiming straight at Feng Henkang. At this moment, a loud roar came from the right. "Don't even think about harming my sect master." Second Elder Feng Farron wielded his Phoenix sword, and with a speed that transcended his limits, he charged towards Xianxia. Under his great astonishment and fear, the Phoenix flames burning from his entire body surged to the extreme. He wasn't charging towards Xianxia, but to where Feng Henkang was. He desperately charged to arrive in front of Feng Henkang before Xianxia could. But at this moment, the trajectory of Xianxia's figure suddenly twisted. Xianxia, who was charging towards Feng Henkang earlier, with twice his former speed, was now suddenly charging towards Feng Farron. Feng Farron, who simply wanted to protect Feng Henkang with all his heart, had never expected that Xianxia would drop the opportunity to heavily injure or kidnap Feng Henkang, and suddenly change the target of his attack. In addition to his lightning-like speed, the instant Feng Farron's pupils shrank, the only action he was able to make in time was to move the Phoenix sword in his hands a centimeter towards his chest. Poosh. The sound of a physical body being torn apart reverberated in the skies above Divine Phoenix Sect. With the heaven-smiting sword, Feng Farron's body, which possessed the protection of profound energy of the 9th level of Tyrant Profound Realm, was instantly pierced through like a fragile piece of leather. Under the terrifying force brought by the heaven-smiting sword, the blood that splurged out of his body scattered several kilometers away. Oog! Feng Farron made his final sound. His fading vision was fixated on Xianxia's cold expression, and the gigantic crimson-red sword which penetrated his body. His eyes did not carry any hatred, but only exceedingly deep astonishment and disbelief, as though he was residing within a dream. He could not believe that he, the number 2 elder of Divine Phoenix Sect, would actually die just like this, and the person who killed him was actually just a youth who was merely 22 years old. Furthermore, he couldn't believe that the strength Xianxia had unleashed, which instantly pierced his body, was actually powerful to the point where it had completely broken through the limits of the Tyrant Profound Realm. Second Elder. The eyes of all who had witnessed everything were all shrinking tremendously. Even their shouts were trembling as though they were within a cold gust of wind. Looking at the many faces that looked as though they had seen a ghost or a god, Xianxia let out a bland, cold laugh. The golden crow flames blazed on his body as the heaven-smiting sword was swung fiercely downwards. Burning sun rupture. A fireball, not even 3 meters long, blazed above the heaven-smiting sword, and with a light swing, Xianxia threw it downwards along with Feng Farron's corpse. Boom! The fireball, which looked inconspicuous even to the eyes of the most regular Phoenix disciples, had, however, burst into a catastrophic sea of flames the instant it landed, engulfing several tens of Phoenix disciples within it. In a mere instant, these Phoenix disciples were burnt off with no traces left behind, unable to even utter a single sound or scream before their deaths. Nightmarish scenes followed one after another. This was truly a nightmare. Back then, they were exasperated at how Xianxia escaped with his extreme speed. But today, they finally understood that him running away was simply his bestowal of heavenly grace and mercy. After witnessing Xianxia's heaven-defying speed, they finally experienced Xianxia's current strength, which was completely no less terrifying than his speed. The present Phoenix Elders had all charged to Feng Henkang's side. Several tens of elders were gathered in a single place, yet it did not give them the slightest sense of security. Every single one of their pupils were intensely shrinking and enlarging, and not even a single one of them dared to charge towards Xianxia. Xianxia's gaze turned around at this moment, and the bodies of the Phoenix Elders trembled intensely at the same instant. However, Xianxia did not charge down once again. He lightly furrowed his brows and coldly looked at Feng Henkang, who was at the center of the large crater. Feng Henkang's face had already distorted to an incomparable extent. Feng Henkang, you truly have to thank the heavens for bestowing you with a good daughter. You're simply unfit to be her father, though. If not because of Zuer, even if I don't kill you today, I would have still crippled your 4 limbs. Though you have already foolishly wasted the 3 opportunities that I have bestowed you on Zuer's behalf, I will still continue to give you chances. Of course, you can still continue to waste them. However, the consequences of wasting chances will only become more severe. Allow me to look forward to tomorrow with great expectations. Ha 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 ha. Amidst the loud laughter, Xianxia rose into the sky. and in a blink of an eye, his figure was enveloped by the clouds. Following Xianxia's departure, the nightmare seemed to have ceased for the time being. However, the tremor felt by the Divine Phoenix sect was still unable to stop even after a long time. "Royal Father, are you all right?" "Sect Master." Feng Hengkong's arm was shattered and blood flowed from the corner of his lips, but the damage he suffered on his entire body was not severe. Instead, it was the Phoenix Elder who caught him that was unconscious from heavy injuries. Everyone present could see that this was clearly Xianxia showing mercy. Otherwise, he could have possibly taken Feng Hengkong's life immediately. With listless eyes, Feng Hengkong gazed towards the sky as his lips severely trembled. "Impossible! How could this possibly be his strength? Impossible! This is impossible!" Feng Hengkong's words were everyone's sorrowful chant as well. 3 years ago, even though Xianxia's performance had shocked the 7 nations, but at the utmost limit, it was merely at the late levels of the Emperor's profound realm. Though he was a peerless-like existence among the young generation, in front of the almighty Phoenix Elders, he was merely an ant that could be killed with a casual flick of a finger. Since then, a total of 3 years had passed. Merely 3 years had passed. Blasting Feng Yunjai to death with a single fist, smashing apart 3 Phoenix Elders with a single swing of his sword, heavily injuring Feng Hengkong and a Phoenix Elder with a single strike, and even slaughtering Feng Farron, ranked number 2 among the Phoenix Elders, with a single sword strike. This was strength that required at least the power of a half-step monarch, or even possibly an existence who had already stepped into the sovereign profound realm. With 3 years' worth of time, how could there possibly be? A heaven-defying growth that completely went against all logic. "Impossible, impossible," Feng Hengkong lamented, and then he fiercely puked out a large mouthful of fresh blood. His face turned deathly pale as he fell to the ground. "Sect Master! Royal Father!" In response to Feng Hengkong were merely mournful cries. Several hundred meters below Phoenix City, in an absolute forbidden ground that even princes and Phoenix Elders could not casually approach. The place was surrounded by flames, forming what seemed to be a boundless blazing sea. Furthermore, all the flames were not ordinary profound flames, but incomparably hot phoenix flames. At this moment, footsteps, which sounded a little heavy, reverberated within this phoenix flames-filled forbidden ground. Following after, the light from the swaying flames revealed Feng Hengkong's face. As the divine Phoenix Emperor, he, who would usually hold his head up high, did not dare to let out even the slightest bit of his prideful demeanor and Emperor's aura at this moment. As he moved, he was even making an effort to have his head lowered. His footsteps gradually slowed down, and finally, in the deepest part of the flames, he stopped on his tracks. Then he heavily knelt down and drooped his head even more deeply. Amidst the light swaying of the blazing phoenix flames, a blurry figure appeared faintly. A calm yet heavy voice sounded from this figure. "Hengkong, the Phoenix's aura has been in turmoil the past few days. What's the problem?" In front of this figure, Feng Hengkong deeply prostrated his body. "This child is incapable. Royal Father, please bestow punishment upon me. Your energy and blood are in chaos, and even your mind and soul are in devastated states. Just who had pushed you to such lengths?" The voice sounded from the flames, turned a little heavier. "Is it a certain sacred ground?" "No." Feng Hengkong did not dare to rise from his prostrating posture. It's Xianxia. That youth of 3 years ago, the one who defeated our sect's young generation and even saved Zuer." His voice carried slight astonishment. "Yes, but he did not die in the primordial profound arc 3 years ago, and now he has returned alive. Because of the matter concerning Blue Wind Empire, he has arrived to exact revenge." "I see. The expert aiding him, who is it?" The voice within the flames was still solemn and calm. Feng Hengkong took a deep breath. "He's the only one." The phoenix flames quietly burned, swayed, and seethed. However, within the entire fiery space, not a single sound was made for a long while. Feng Hengkong's upper body had completely laid on the ground, not daring to make a single move. Only after exactly 10 breaths had passed did the voice once again sounded. "Tianyu, Tianqing, the both of you provide Feng Hengkong with support. After the task is finished, return immediately." "Yes." Several tens of kilometers within the sea of flames, 2 old and solemn responses echoed out. "The flaming aura over at Divine Phoenix Sect is in disarray. It seems Xianxia has made a huge move this time." Zi Jai gazed into the distance, looking towards Divine Phoenix Sect's direction. At his side, a middle-aged man, dressed entirely in blue, was currently kneeling on the ground. The man's cold expression carried deep awe as he respectfully said, "Xianxia has indeed done something beyond expectations today." Did you bring the profound imagery stone? With his two hands, the blue-clothed man raised a strange jade stone that was flashing a water-blue glow in its surroundings. Fortunately, the situation wasn't life-threatening. Master, please look over it. Picking up the water-blue jade stone, Xianxia brushed his palm against it, and a mystical profound formation quickly formed above the profound imagery stone. Following after Xianxia's light changes in his hand movements, scenes after scenes of images were clearly displayed within the profound formation. And what the images were displaying were clearly scenes of Xianxia when he arrived at Divine Phoenix sect today, till his departure, and they were incomparably complete. It had impressively displayed to Xianxia everything that had happened today in Divine Phoenix sect clearly, without leaving anything out, with a mystical and strange method. Xianxia's demeanor was calm in the beginning, but soon after his brows began to sink. When Xianxia smashed 3 Phoenix elders to death with a single slash, the blue-clothed man clearly saw his 2 brows intensely twitched for a moment. Xianxia quietly watched the scenes within the profound imagery stone. There wasn't a single moment where he shifted his gaze. When the final image disappeared, he turned around and let out a long sigh. It seems, when Sun Moon Divine Hall said he possessed strength comparable to an early-stage monarch, they weren't making empty claims at all. At the 3rd level of the Emperor Profound Realm, it's completely incomprehensible to be comparable to an early-stage sovereign profound realm. This is simply not talent that a human can possibly achieve. A trace of deep astonishment could be heard from Xianxia's voice. With his incomparably broad knowledge and experience surpassing 1,000 years, let alone the 3rd level of the Emperor Profound Realm, he had never even heard of someone possessing the 3rd level of the Tyrant Profound Realm, standing toe-to-toe with someone at the Sovereign Profound Realm. He was incomparably certain that in the history of Profound Sky Continent, such a case had never appeared either. In regards to Xianxia's evaluation, the blue-clothed man at his side was not the least bit shocked. After all, he was present at the scene witnessing everything that had happened today. The astonishment that arose in his heart because of Xianxia far surpassed Xianxia's. Calling him a freak would not be the least bit exaggerated. Stepping across power of exactly 2 large realms, and 2 of the most top-tier realms especially, there's definitely not a single precedent in Profound Sky Continent, and it would most likely be impossible for such a person to appear in the future either. It was hard to imagine how powerful Xianxia would be if his profound strength were to achieve the sovereign profound realm. Xianxia's words were said out of surprise, yet he did not know that his own words coincidentally carried a fact. Because Xianxia's profound arts, bloodline, physical body, and even his soil had all indeed surpassed the boundaries of a human. His profound movement skill is undoubtedly the extreme mirage lightning. Xianxia kept the profound imagery stone, furrowed his brows, and sank into deep thoughts. The blue-clothed man once again took out another profound imagery stone and said, "Master, this subordinate has another matter to report. Our people over at Blue Wind Empire did not hesitate to activate their one and only teleportation formation and sent over a profound imagery stone. They wanted this subordinate to personally hand this over to Master's hands at all costs, in order to have Master look over it." Oh, the further the transfer distance of the teleportation formation, the expenses required to construct it would be more immense. Hence, if not absolutely necessary, a teleportation formation of this scale could not be activated easily. The Black Moon Merchant Guild in Blue Wind Empire only had a single piece of profound stone that could activate the teleportation formation once, and it had never been used for several hundred years. Yet it was suddenly used this time, evidently a irregular case. Xianxia picked up the second piece of profound imagery stone from the blue-clothed man's hands. The profound formation built up, and the scenes showed by the profound images this time were the front of Blue Wind Imperial City of Blue Wind Empire. This is, looking at the images in front of him, Xianxia's brows fiercely twitched. His 2 eyes were as sharp as swords as he stared deadly at that seemingly blurry figure within the image. A violent gale of wind surrounded the human figure's body, and on his back there seemed to be a pair of translucent wings, and the profound light emitted from his body was a very unique jade-green color. Bang! The images disappeared, and the profound imagery stone was suddenly shattered by Xianxia as well. The blue-clothed man raised his head. "Master, tell the men over at Blue Wind Empire they are not allowed to bring up even the slightest word about the matter regarding this profound imagery stone to anyone. Not to anyone, is that clear?" Zai expression was heavy, and his words, even more so, carried supreme weight. The entire body of the blue-clothed man turned cold as he hurriedly said, "Yes, this subordinate shall pass it down now." Standing in front of the window, Zai's brows were tightly locked as he sank into deep thoughts for a long while. It was unknown what his thoughts were. His stillness this time had lasted for exactly 2 hours. Unknowingly, the blazing sun was already hovering in the center of the sky when Zai finally moved. He lightly raised his head and looked towards the illuminated blue and white horizon and softly said, "The person mentioned in the report sent from Demon Illusory Realm, could he actually be?" After Xianxia flew away from the Divine Phoenix sect, he had headed south the entire time. The cold smile on his face gradually sank down as well. In these few days, he had been causing uproars in the Divine Phoenix sect, which each subsequent one larger than the last. However, in this entire process, he had been purposefully controlling his voice, preventing it from being sent to where the Phoenix Perching Valley was and startling Feng Zuer. "I killed 4 of her elder brothers." Xianxia let out a faint sigh and muttered to himself. "No matter who the person is, it cannot possibly be forgiven, right? Do you know what's a profound imagery stone?" Jasmine coldly voiced out. "Profound imagery stone?" Xianxia said. "I have indeed heard of it before. From what I have heard, it's a profound jade with a certain mystical formation engraved in it. After releasing the profound formation within, it can record the scenes within a certain range, for a certain amount of time. And then, with another profound formation as a guide, the images recorded within the profound imagery stone can be released. But according to what I heard, the requirements for the profound jade used for profound imagery stones are extremely high, and the profound formations that could record images are incomparably complicated, so it's extremely hard to succeed. The forces capable of producing profound imagery stones in the entire continent can be counted on one's hand. So even though I have heard of it before, I have never seen one. Why did you suddenly bring this up? Everything that you did in the Divine Phoenix sect today was recorded by someone using a profound imagery stone, and that person's aura reveals that he's not someone from the Divine Phoenix sect," Jasmine lightly said. "Oh," Xianxia was slightly startled, but soon after he said without a care, "Then it's undoubtedly the Black Moon Merchant Guild. They actually wasted a profound imagery stone on me. They sure are willing to spend." Even until now, Xianxia had not seen how a profound imagery stone looked like, and had only heard of it every now and then. Even the dumbest of person could imagine how precious and rare an item like that was. Most probably, in the entire profound sky continent, only the Black Moon Merchant Guild and the 4 great sacred grounds would be able to use them. HMPH, it's best that you watch out. If you reveal any weak points before you can even finish exacting revenge on Divine Phoenix sect, Sun Moon Divine Hall will come over to kill you the first opportunity they get," Jasmine said snappily. Following after, her tone turned lighter. "At the very least, in the next 3 months or so, don't do anything that court your own death. Once the devilish poison in my body is completely detoxed 3 months later, you can do whatever you want. When that time comes, unless I want you to die, you can't die even if you want to," Xianxia chuckled. "You can't possibly bear to see me dead." Jasmine's voice sank, and she said with cold smile, "Do you want to try? All right then," Xianxia answered without the slightest of hesitation as he said while grinning. "Then why don't we make a bet? If you bear to kill me after you're fully recovered, then let me meet you again in my next life. If you don't bear to kill me, then let me kiss you. Do you dare?" "You courting death, HMPH?" Jasmine heavily snorted and no longer paid him any heed. Xianxia tore through the skies. With extreme mirage lightning, he quickly left the boundaries of Divine Phoenix City. At this moment, a sharp whistle suddenly sounded from the bottom. A figure was chasing after him at astonishing speed. Just when Xianxia was about to respond, after he felt the person's aura, the corner of his brows twitched, and very quickly, his speed slowed to a complete halt. Xianxia turned around and smiled as he looked at the skinny figure approaching him. He was dressed in common attire, and his hair was oily and scruffed. However, Xianxia was able to discern that he was in a disguised state with a glance, and it was even a double-layered disguise. His identity had even more so appeared incomparably vividly in Xianxia's mind. "Hua Minghai, long time no see." The person chasing after him stopped in front of Xianxia, and his breath was in a slight disorder from excitement. "Big bro, I finally get to see you again. As expected, I did not wait here for nothing. Phew, I just knew that big bro, being such a nice person, will definitely not die just like that." The heavens are protecting you. In these few days, not just Divine Phoenix City, basically the entire continent knew that Xianxia had returned alive. And in a span of a few days, he had single-handedly playing Divine Phoenix sect like they were chickens and dogs. In the beginning, Hua Minghai was not in Divine Phoenix City. When he heard that Xianxia wasn't dead, and had even went to Divine Phoenix City, he came rushing over throughout the night in order to meet the person he was extremely indebted to. The great kindness he gave 3 years ago was hard to forget even in death. It has indeed been a long time. Looking at the lively colors on Hua Minghai's forehead, Xianxia said with a smile, "When I first met you 3 years ago, your face was filled with a depressed look, but now it's completely gone. It seems your wife has been recovering pretty well in these few years." Hua Minghai nodded strongly. The cold poison in Xiaoya has been completely detoxed, and not even a single hint of it had appeared again these 3 years. Also, with the dragon blood bestowed by Big Bro in a short span of a year, she had already completely recovered. Now not only has Xiaoya fully recovered, her physique and energy has been completely restored as well, and her profound strength has even recovered by about 70 to 80%. These were all gifted by Big Bro. Big Bro's kindness, even if I... All right. Xianxia hurriedly interrupted his words. There's no need for so many words of thanks back then. It was simply a small effort on my part. In fact, to me, your extreme mirage lightning had repaid my small effort by several times. If not for borrowing the use of the extreme mirage lightning, I definitely would not have the ability to enter and leave Divine Phoenix sect as I please. Ah, my extreme mirage lightning? What do you mean? Why do I not understand at all? Oh right, Big Bro, your profound movement skill is incredible, and it looks similar to my clan's extreme mirage lightning. It sure is a great coincidence. Yes, such a coincidence. It might be possible that long ago it came from the same school of profound movement skills. Ha ha ha, coincidental, so coincidental. This is definitely fate between Big Bro and I, ha 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 ha. Hua Minghai raised his head and looked towards the sky as he laughed sillily with a crazy look on his face. Ha 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 ha. Xianxia laughed out loud as well. It's of great help to me, far surpassing my expectations from back then. Don't worry, I will definitely not let you go against your clan rules for nothing. Speaking of which, the reason I nearly died on the primordial profound arc 3 years ago was because of Sun Moon Divine Hall's Yi Xinghen. When I finally made my return, they even traveled several tens of thousands of kilometers to welcome me. The grudge between me and Sun Moon Divine Hall can be said to have completely formed. Although currently there's still no conflict between us, there will definitely be a day where we will completely break into conflict, and that day isn't that far away. Xianxia looked at Hua Minghai and slowly said, "Within Sun Moon Divine Hall, who do you want dead the most?" Hua Minghai's eyes evidently trembled. "Big Bro, can you really?" His face momentarily changed, and then he fiercely clenched his teeth. "The one who killed my parents and struck Xiaoya with the cold poison is the same person. Yixueng, Sun Moon Divine Hall's 10th elder. And the culprit behind everything is the heavenly monarch Yi Meixi of Sun Moon Divine Hall. Since several hundred years ago, he had wanted to obtain our clan's extreme mirage lightning, and had searched for the traces of our clan in secret countless times. Back then, I mentioned that a former ancestor of mine once entered Sun Moon Divine Hall and stole one of their tyrant blades. This was in order to exact revenge on Sun Moon Divine Hall for their countless sabotages. Till today, our clan has withered down to merely me alone. So, I understand." Xianxia nodded. "Yi Meixi is coincidentally one of the people I must kill." "Ah," Hua Minghai was stunned. "Because Yi Xinghen must die." Recalling what Yi Xinghen had done, Xianxia's voice suddenly turned cold. "And Yi Xinghen is Yi Meixi's only son. After killing Yi Xinghen, there's naturally a need to kill Yi Meixi as well, else there will be countless troubles in the future." The reason why Xianxia had to kill them, or to say the more important reason, was naturally to exact revenge for his parents. Xianxia's profound energy surged, and extreme mirage lightning enveloped his body. "Although I do not carry your clan's bloodline, I possess your clan's core inheritance. Hence, I'm still barely considered as a half-successor of your clan. Since that's the case, there's a need to do a little something for your clan, even if it's done in passing." "Big Bro," the gratitude within Hua Minghai's heart was inexpressible. "I'm leaving now. I don't mind staying for too long, but it's still a little dangerous for you. You'd best hurry and leave Divine Phoenix City. With the cruel acts the Divine Phoenix sect has done to my Blue Wind Empire, in the next following days, I'm unable to guarantee that I won't do something that would involve the entire Divine Phoenix City." After leaving these final words, Xianxia waved his hands at Hua Minghai as his body turned into lightning and left far, far away. "Big bro, my sound transmission imprint hasn't changed. If there's anything that I can do, call me whenever." Hua Minghai shouted loudly. His gaze continued to chase after Xianxia's leaving figure until he completely disappeared from his line of sight. Today was the 4th day since Xianxia came to the Divine Phoenix City. In the span of 4 days, not only had he thrown Divine Phoenix City in disarray, he had also caused news of this incident to spread to every corner of Sky Profound continent. In the first place, the news of Xianxia returning alive was enough to stir the entire continent. But the things he had done in Divine Phoenix City in these past few days, especially the incident of him killing 2 princes and 5 Phoenix elders yesterday, swept towards the 7 nations of the continent like a storm in merely a single night. Whether it was Divine Phoenix Empire or the other 6 nations, to all of them, this was the most shocking incident since the founding of their own nations. The first response when anyone heard the news was that they could not believe it no matter what. This was the first time in history that the dignity of the unrivaled Divine Phoenix Empire was being stepped on, and it was even being stepped on to such an extent. Furthermore, their opponent was merely a single person. Even the 4 sacred grounds themselves had long known about this matter and were also paying great attention to it. The night passed, and when Xianxia opened his eyes, the sky was already bright. However, he did not choose what time he wanted to wake up. Rather, he was awakened by the activity of his voice transmission jade. As soon as he took out the voice transmission jade, the voice of a calm middle-aged man sounded from within. "There are 2 additional monarch auras in the Divine Phoenix sect this morning. One of them is at late stage 2nd level of the Sovereign Profound Realm, while the other is at middle stage 3rd level of the Sovereign Profound Realm. Do take care." The one who sent the voice transmission was actually Zai Jai of the Black Moon Merchant Guild. Not only did he take the initiative to inform you, the old man had even personally sent the voice transmission himself. "HMPH, it seems like he really cares about you a lot, huh?" Jasmine coldly said. "Care?" Xianxia curled his lips. "That's because I have a teacher behind my back who is strong to the point of being unprecedented and catastrophic. A teacher who should definitely not be offended. That is what made him feel that it's best to display his goodwill. If this layer of illusion is broken with his shrewdness, there's a huge possibility. No, he will definitely want me dead more than anyone else. In regards to a large power that had been established and had dominated an entire continent for 10,000 years, something that could possibly become a threatening force, definitely cannot be allowed to exist. With my irregular talent and speed of growth that had already been exposed right in their eyes, I'm naturally one of those people that can possibly put them in a threatened position. It's good that you know," Jasmine arrogantly said. "Divine Phoenix sect is the same as well." Xianxia flew into the air and looked in the direction of Divine Phoenix City. In just 5,000 years, the Divine Phoenix sect had already approached the degree of strength possessed by the sacred grounds by simply borrowing the Phoenix bloodline. In another 5,000 years, with the advantage of borrowing a divine spirit's bloodline, there's a huge possibility that they would surpass the 4 sacred grounds. The reason why the Divine Phoenix sect had been stable and peaceful these 5,000 years was due to the existence of the Divine Phoenix. If the illusion of the Divine Phoenix still being alive is destroyed, even the dumbest of person can predict what would happen to the Divine Phoenix sect. Speaking up to this point, Xianxia's brows slightly moved. Could the absurd actions Divine Phoenix Empire had done to the Blue Wind Empire be preparation for the crisis that might happen in the future? After all, there would also be a time where wind could even seep through the thickest of walls. Even if that was the case, no matter what the reason was, considering the sins Divine Phoenix Empire committed against Blue Wind Nation, they would have to suffer 10 times the costs no matter what. Feng Henkong had not slept a wink for 4 days. In the first place, he had not suffered any severe injuries, and as of this moment, even the injury on his arm was no longer serious. However, the impact his inner heart suffered had no possibility to subside in such a short span of time. In just 3 short days, 4 of his sons had died, and all of them died right in front of his eyes. Furthermore, every single one of them was completely burnt away. Forget about having a corpse, even a trace of ash was not left behind. A heavy impact like this was something any regular person wouldn't be able to take, let alone he. the Divine Phoenix Sect Master, as well as the Emperor of Divine Phoenix Empire. Within the half-destroyed and messy Phoenix main hall, all of the various Phoenix elders and princes were lined up. However, their faces carried not anxiety nor hatred, but instead joy and excitement. At the very end of the hall, there were two others sitting on both sides of Feng Henkang. Their seats were actually positioned at the same level as Feng Henkang's. These two were elders with heavy vicissitudes imprinted on their faces. Their beards were snow white, yet their hair had a rich dark crimson color. Around their bodies, fire spirits occasionally danced about, and an incomparably heavy pressure was being released from their bodies. Currently, their slightly sunken brows and eyes, which were emitting out cold lights, had greatly caused everyone to hold their breaths. 4 princes of our Divine Phoenix sect have actually been consecutively killed. Outrageous. The voice of the elder on the right was as heavy as a gong, and due to his anger, the temperature of the entire hall suddenly rose. "Why did you not mention this matter to the Grand Sect Master?" the elder on the left said. "Royal Father's personality is as violent as flames. We were momentarily timid and did not dare to clearly speak of it. We wanted to inform Royal Father after we took down that bastard Xianxia." Feng Henkang closed his eyes. His constantly twitching face and neck highlighted the unsuppressible hatred and pain in his heart. "All of us are incapable. To actually have to involve 2 grand elders to personally come out of seclusion, we are truly ashamed." Great Elder Feng Feili uttered shamefully. "With 2 grand elders here, if Xianxia still dares to come, then today will be his funeral." Feng Ziming gritted his teeth and said, "For the 2 elders sitting next to Feng Henkang, their ages both exceeded 500 years respectively. Not only were they from the generation of Grand Elders in the Divine Phoenix sect, they were also 2 out of the 9 Grand Elders who had broken through the Sovereign Profound Realm. The one seated on the left was named Feng Tianyu, while the one seated on the right was named Feng Tianqing. They both belonged to the same vein as the Grand Sect Master of Divine Phoenix sect, carrying the first name, Tian. Currently, they had already become the cornerstone-like existences of Divine Phoenix sect. The sin of this person cannot simply be repaid with death, Feng Tianyu furiously said. "Other than the 4 princes, how many people from within the sect have died because of that Xianxia?" Compared to Feng Tianyu, Feng Tianqing was much calmer, however. He similarly had pupils which had completely turned crimson red, highlighting that the astonishment and anger in his heart was definitely not any weaker than Feng Tianyu's. Because within Divine Phoenix sect's 5,000 years of history, they had never received such humiliation before. Feng Ziming respectfully said, "On the first day, only 14th little brother died under his hands. On the second day, 13th little brother and 9 guardian disciples, a total of 10, died. Yesterday, 2 royal little brothers and 5 elders died under his hands, and 93 others were burnt to ashes. There's also 300 or so people who had suffered injuries of different degrees. In order to save Royal Father, 21st Elder has suffered severe injuries, and until now, he has yet to wake from his coma. 111 people, heh. It seems that he must suffer 111 times of pain worse than death before he can fully repay his debt." Feng Tianyu's expression turned cold and sinister. At this moment, an uproar suddenly echoed from outside. Following after, an evidently panicky voice rang, Xianxia is here." "Who?" All of the people present in the entire Phoenix main hall, other than the 2 grand elders, suddenly stood up at exactly the same instant. And a single moment like this showed that Xianxia had already planted a terrifying shadow in their hearts. "Xianxia!" Feng Henkang tightly clenched both of his fists. With a low voice, he chanted the name of whom he hated the most in his entire life. "It's time for you to repay your debt." Boom. Flames erupted, and Feng Henkang instantly charged towards the skies, once again forming another humongous hole in the roof of the hall, which was already dilapidated in the first place. The crowd of Phoenix elders loudly shouted, "Sect Master," before quickly flying into the air and followed him closely from behind. In the direction of the gate to Divine Phoenix City, Xianxia was still floating in the same position as yesterday. His arms were crossed in front of his chest, and his face carried a cold smile. His actions and expression were exactly the same as yesterday. Compared to Xianxia, however, the reactions of the people from Divine Phoenix sect were greatly different from yesterday. Their expressions looked especially assured, and their gazes on Xianxia were as though they were looking at a dead man. Some of their faces even revealed a joyful, cold smile, as though they could already see the scene of Xianxia falling in their hands, allowing them to wantonly vent out their hatred and frustration. Feng Henkang, you sure came here to welcome me rather quickly today. Xianxia's gaze still locked onto Feng Henkang alone, and his tone was even more scornful than the day before. Today, have you thought it through and prepared to obediently listen to me? Or are you going to continue watching your sons and disciples suffer miserable deaths one after another in front of your eyes? Oh, of course. I still have to very kindly remind you that it's best that you listen to me obediently. Otherwise, if all of your sons were to die off, your sect master and emperor's seat will no longer have a single successor. Xianxia, your death is already imminent, yet you're still being arrogant. Feng Feili said with a cold smile, do you think you can still leave this place alive today? Oh, Xianxia slightly narrowed his eyes, my death is imminent. In these few days, I seem to have heard these 4 words from you people more than 10 times. Unfortunately, even now, not a single strand of my hair has been damaged. As for your divine phoenix sect, so pitiful, sad, and laughable. He really is as arrogant as the rumors say. Responding to Xianxia was an old and mighty voice. Following this voice, 2 crimson-red figures slowly floated into the air from the Phoenix main hall, carrying peerless pressure that was as heavy as a mountain, enveloping the entire divine Phoenix sect. They coldly watched Xianxia. The intense aura and pressure they carried had even brought the surrounding winds of several dozen kilometers into stillness. It was as though in this space, they were the dictators between heaven and earth. Xianxia put down his arms from his chest and unhurriedly shifted them behind his back. He gave the 2 elders a glance and said with a light, cold smile, looking at how the confidence of you people had inflated several hundred times, I was wondering which deity had been invited over. However, you people have only called out 2 old and dead farts. You people should at least call out Feng Tianwei as well. Merely Feng Tianyu and Feng Tianqing. Are you telling me that among the generation of grand elders of divine Phoenix sect, only a bunch of trash remained? Feng Hui's soul carried memories about the generation of grand elders, so when Xianxia saw Feng Tianyu and Feng Tianqiang, it was only natural that he could fluently call out their names. Feng Tianyu's and Feng Tianqing's expression changed at the same time. They had appeared carrying a majestic aura, and they had even locked their phoenix spiritual pressure on Xianxia the first opportunity they had. Initially, they had thought that with just their spiritual pressure, it would be sufficient to make Xianxia quiver in fear, and even cause his mind collapse. However, the scene before them was totally out of their expectations. After their appearance, not only did Xianxia not reveal any fear or anxiety, there wasn't even a single change to his expression. The aura from his body did not stir in the slightest either. His calmness looked as though he was looking at 2 ants jumping out from the ground. Not only was he not suppressed by their aura, he had even fluently called out their names. And then, not only was he not afraid of their names, his every word and every expression was all filled with scorn and disdain. He was actually scorning and mocking the grand elders of divine Phoenix sect, 2 figures who had achieved the sovereign profound realm, who had become the gods among people who practiced the profound cultivation, and 2 figures who could truly look down on the entire world. Ho, after not seeing the sun and moon for 100 years, I would have never expected that the current fledglings would actually become this unaware of the difference between heaven and earth. His slightly changed expression quickly calmed down. Feng Tianyu was not angered because of Xianxia's words. Instead, he slowly shook his head as he let out a pitiful sigh. Ignorant junior, how are you worthy of calling out the name of our divine Phoenix Grand Sect Master? Feng Tianqing asked with a solemn voice. Their 2 faces looked as calm as before, but deep inside, both of their hearts were surging with waves of emotions. They had already repeatedly confirmed that the profound aura emitted from Xianxia's body was indeed merely at the 3rd level of the Emperor Profound Realm. Although they had long discovered his strength through Feng Henkang's description, they were still shocked in their hearts after personally witnessing him themselves. With just the strength of the Emperor Profound, he had actually consecutively killed several princes and elders, forcing the divine Phoenix sect to have no choice but to call upon the grand generation for help. Just how incredible was this? In this world, such a person actually existed. Oh, I can't understand those words, Xianxia said with a cold smile. Even I feel ashamed and saddened in place of your grand sect master Feng Tianwei for bearing a son like Feng Henkang, whom cannot even be compared to pigs and dogs, do not carry any conscience, and should be struck by lightning from the heavens themselves. I'm not worthy of calling out his name. Even by calling out his full name, I feel that my mouth has been dirtied a little poo. Impudent. Ever since the establishment of the Divine Phoenix sect 5,000 years ago, who dared to humiliate the name of the Grand Sect Master in such a manner. Even the four great sacred grounds definitely wouldn't dare to do so. Even Feng Tianyu's and Feng Tianwei's states of mind and soul, which had been refined for several hundred years, were completely enraged from Yun Qi's words. They had already seen Yun Qi's arrogance for themselves when they first met, but they never expected that he would be arrogant and impudent to such an extent. Fledgling, you sure have huge guts to actually dare humiliate my divine sect's Grand Sect Master, Feng Tianyu said with great anger. Grand Elder, no need to be agitated by him. Feng Henkong suddenly said with a solemn voice. This devil-spawn's state of mind is irregular. 3 years ago, his profound strength was merely at the earth-profound realm, yet when he was facing our divine sect alone, he was incomparably calm. Currently, although he's calm, it's definitely impossible for him not to fear you two Grand Elders. Evidently, his words are used to purposefully anger you, Grand Elders, in order to seek for the opportunity to flee while you two Grand Elders are in great fury. This boy is incomparably sly and possesses various deceptive tricks, making it hard to come up with preventive measures against him. Grand Elders, there's completely no need to waste any of your saliva with him. Simply kill him this instant. When Feng Henkong's words fell, Feng Tianyu had already risen with wind-breaking speed. A flaming long halberd appeared horizontally in the air, and it pierced straight towards Yun Qi. Arrogant devil spawn, die! When the monarch made a move, the instant eruption of aura caused several tens of thousands of Phoenix disciples to tumble onto the ground from the blast of force. At the same time, several kilometers of wind and sand violently rose. Yun Qi's figure blurred. In one star god's broken shadow, he lightly dodged, causing Feng Tianyu's attack to simply strike air and pierce through a blurred image. Suddenly, a profound glow appeared on Yun Qi's body, and with the extreme mirage lightning, he headed towards the southeastern direction like a bolt of lightning. Feng Henkong, it seems like you're still not prepared to listen to me obediently today, and you have even called out 2 old undead farts. Ha 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 ha, you'd best not regret it. As a level 3 monarch, the attack he struck towards a throne was actually completely dodged, and the flaming halberd, which was created through his monarch fire energy, had merely pierced a blurred image. Because of this, Feng Tianyu was both astonished and enraged in an instant. He quickly raised his body as phoenix flames surged forth from his entire body and immediately chased after Yun Qi. Let me see where you're thinking of fleeing to. Today, this old man will personally burn you into ashes. Feng Tianking rose into the sky, but just as he was about to give chase as well, Feng Tianyu's voice sounded from afar. Tianking, stay within the sect. This devil spawn does not have the qualifications to have both of us attack at the same time. Feng Tianking's profound energy instantly retracted. He looked towards the direction where Yun Qi and Feng Tianyu was heading to, and his face was filled with astonishment. It seems that what you have said wasn't an exaggeration. A mere throne is actually capable of displaying such speed. It's seemingly comparable to Tianyu's. There's an extremely high possibility that the profound movement skill he's executing is the Thief God clan's Extreme Mirage Lightning. Extreme Mirage Lightning is, after all, the officially recognized #1 profound movement skill of the profound Sky Continent. Feng Henkong hatefully stated, but it's definitely impossible for him to escape from Tianyu's grasp. Feng Tianking plainly said, although his speed is sufficient to compete with Tianyu's, when it comes to the depth of profound energy, the difference between him and Tianyu can be said to be of heaven and earth. It might be hard for Tianyu to catch up to him within a short amount of time, but as time progresses, Yun Qi's profound energy will definitely quickly deplete, and when that time comes, HMPH, I wonder if he will still be as arrogant. Yun Qi, with extreme mirage lightning enveloping his body, moved at wind-breaking speed as Divine Phoenix City passed by below him at an extreme speed. In a distance of 2 kilometers behind him, Feng Tianyu's phoenix flames burned from his body. Wherever he went, blazing waves of wind would start to swirl. His eyes stared deeply at Yun Qi's figure, yet his heart was growing more and more astonished. Although he was not losing his target from his line of sight the entire time, he was still unable to close the distance between him and Yun Qi even after using his full strength. He had chased him for a long time, yet he was still 2 kilometers apart from Yun Qi. He, a mighty level 3 monarch with his full speed, was actually unable to catch up to a level 3 throne. If someone were to bring up this matter to him, he would definitely take it as a huge joke. But as of this moment, this situation was happening on himself. With speed like that, it was no wonder Feng Henkang would be forced to such an extent. The clouds in the sky above were brutally blasted away by two violent waves of air. Not long after, two people, one behind the other, had flown away from the boundaries of Divine Phoenix City as they charged towards the southeast. After traversing 100 kilometers away from Divine Phoenix City, Feng Tianyu's expression fiercely focused all of a sudden. In his line of sight, Yun Qi's figure was gradually enlarging. The distance between the two had begun to shorten, closing in at a considerably quick pace. Feng Tianyu's brows twitched as his face revealed a color of joy. Although Yun Qi's speed was astonishing, when it came to endurance, how could it possibly compare to his? The flames on his body surged, and his speed faintly increased a notch again. Just as he was about to shout out, he suddenly saw that Yun Qi's figure, which was in front of him, quickly closed in. He actually stopped in midair and even turned to face him. Have you finally given up?" Feng Tianyu coldly laughed. He did not ignore the words spoken by Feng Henkang back then, and he did not have the slightest plan to stop and play with his prey. Reaching out his right arm, the flames on his body instantly expanded, forming 8 bulky flaming pillars that blasted straight towards Yun Qi. They were engulfing flames coming from a monarch. The moment 8 blasts of phoenix flames came charging forth, the space surrounding Yun Qi had already twisted into countless spirals. All of the elements, sound, and even rays of light were being completely engulfed by the monarch's flames. Yun Qi's complexion sank, and his gaze became cold and calm. His body was suspended in midair, yet he did not have the slightest of intention to dodge. On his body, phoenix flames were similarly set ablaze, and his 2 arms, which were crossed in front of his chest, were suddenly swung apart. In an instant, 8 similar pillars of phoenix flames whizzed out from his body, carrying fiery radiance that was even deeper and hotter than Feng Tianyu's, as they charged towards the incoming 8 blasts of phoenix flames. 16 blasts of phoenix flames, like 16 hideous-looking dancing fire pythons, struck against each other in midair. With a loud bang, the earth instantly split opened into several dozens of giant cracks. Soil and dirt burst into the air like a fountain, reaching up to 300 meters in height. The flaming light, which soared to the skies, actually reached up to several hundred meters in height. A crimson-red radiance had even illuminated the entire sky for several seconds. When the red light dispersed, the originally considerably flat ground below Yun Qi and Feng Tianyu had already turned into a gigantic, deep crater, and fiery stars scattered about in the air. Looking at the completely unharmed Yun Qi, Feng Tianyu's expression finally had a slight change. Although these were phoenix flames, which he had merely casually thrown out, they were still profound energy of the monarch level, even if Yun Qi was really as strong as Feng Henkang had described. At the very least, he should have been heavily injured by the flames. However, even in his dreams would he not expect that the phoenix flames that he dished out would actually be completely nullified by Yun Qi. Feng Tianyu did not continue attacking. With eagle-like eyes, he stared straight at Yun Qi. Sect Master had told this old man that even though your profound strength is merely at the 3rd level of the Emperor Profound realm, in terms of ability, you're comparable to a half-step monarch. At first, this old man did not believe it, but seeing it now, Sect Master's evaluation wasn't the least bit exaggerated. To be capable of unleashing might comparable to that of a half-step monarch with profound energy of the Emperor Profound. Forget about this old man. Even in the history of Profound Sky Continent, there had never been an appearance of someone with talent that had reached such heights. Just by this level of talent alone, it isn't an exaggeration to call you number 1 throughout the ages of Profound Sky Continent. Feng Tianyu's words were filled with praise, but the killing intent in his gaze had turned even heavier. But you just had to court death by coming to our Divine Phoenix sect. It seems this old man will have no choice but to kill a true genius today. Oh, then I really have to trouble you to personally make a move, Yun Qi said with a sarcastic look. Since you know of this old man's name, then you should most likely know of this old man's strength. It seems like you're not that stupid, being aware that no matter how you run, it's merely a meaningless struggle. Feng Tianyu raised his hand, and an extremely dense amount of phoenix flames gathered above his palm. Ever since this old man stepped into the realm of monarchs, this old man has never made a move against anyone whose age is below 300 years. With your talent, dying under this old man's hands wouldn't be considered as an injustice either. Unfortunately, you're more stupid than I thought. Xianxia began to lightly laugh. Do you really think I was running? Heh, I merely lured you into a place that will become a suitable grave for you. If I really wanted to flee, with your speed, you don't even have the qualifications to eat the dust behind my butt. Even till the end, you still spout off such arrogant words. Die, Feng Tianyu roared out violently, with a flip of his hand. A phoenix arrow smashed towards Xianxia. This time he used a total of 50% of his profound strength. The phoenix arrow he threw swirled up a flaming tornado, carrying a thundering roar. Xianxia's expression was completely stern. Jasmine had already informed him that Feng Tianyu's profound strength was at the mid-stage third level of the sovereign profound realm. Other than repelling Duke Huai once, and the occasional spars with Yun Qinghang in the illusory demon realm, this was the first time he was facing a monarch in its truest sense, and he was even a mortal enemy who wished to put him to death. Before, Jasmine had told him that if he unleashed his full strength, he could roughly reach the power level of a level 3 monarch. But because his bloodline, physique, profound arts, and even killing moves cannot be compared to any profound practitioner in the profound sky continent, in the same level of strength, he could be said to be an invincible existence. In other words, his profound strength could reach that belonging to a level 3 monarchs, but anyone with the same profound strength of a level 3 monarch could never be his match. And Feng Tianyu was even using phoenix flames as well, largely reducing the threat towards him. Hence, he was confident that there was no reason that he would lose to Feng Tianyu. Purgatory? With a growl, Xianxia's purgatory gate was opened. The profound glow on his body, and even the pupils in his eyes, were instantly dyed with a crimson-red color. In an instant, the aura of profound energy emitted from his entire body had even more so wildly expanded in an explosive manner. A violent torrent of profound energy came rushing forward, as though a large hammer was smashed forward. Sensing the change in profound aura from Xianxia's body, Feng Tianyu's expression suddenly underwent a great change. His pair of pupils shrank to the size of a needle width. WH? What? Because this was a profound aura which seemed to carry a power level not any less than his. Xianxia, whose strength was fully unleashed, actually reached out his arm and directly grabbed the incoming phoenix arrow that was shot at him. Following his growl, the phoenix arrow, which was condensed with an extremely powerful phoenix fire energy, was ruthlessly shattered in Xianxia's palm. It turned into 2 distorted lumps of residual flames, which Xianxia swept to the back. Ooh! Feng Tianyu's pupils enlarged, and under his shock-filled expression, even a hint of fear could be discerned. The one who's going to die is you? Xianxia ignited the phoenix blood within his body. Behind him, a clear image of a phoenix appeared in a flash, and in an instant, the pressure of a phoenix superimposed with his profound aura. The power it unleashed had even faintly suppressed Feng Tianyu. Xianxia's arm blasted out, and in a split second, the phoenix flames that erupted diffused into the entire space. Between heaven and earth, what remained was only an extremely pure crimson-red color. With the evil god's fire seed within his body, his speed of circulating fire energy was something that even Feng Tianyu, who had cultivated phoenix flame energy for 600-odd years, could not compare with. The flames, which instantly filled his entire vision, escalated the astonishment within Feng Tianyu's heart even more. The approaching phoenix flames caused his protective profound energy to tremble intensely, and because of that, he no longer dared to be careless or belittle his opponent. With the fastest speed possible, he circulated his profound energy to 80%, causing a gigantic torrent of flames to erupt from his entire body. Phoenix flames searing heaven? Boom. Like a gigantic rock of 3 kilometers in length being thrown into a calm sea. The air within a radius of several dozen kilometers was violently expelled, bringing about a strikingly terrifying ripple. The entire sky completely changed in color, and under the searing red light, 2 balls of phoenix flames that were capable of scorching the earth intensely clashed into one another, burning, tearing, and engulfing each other. And this was merely the beginning. Under the collision and engulfing of the 2 spheres of explosive phoenix flames, not only did they not gradually extinguish and disperse away, rather, they were expanding at an astonishing speed. The crimson-red color grew even deeper, and within several dozen kilometers, all plant life were set ablaze. Under the enveloping flames, even rocks began to quickly melt. Boom, 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 boom. When it came to the richness of profound energy, Xianxia naturally could not be compared with Feng Tianyu. However, when it came to using the same phoenix flames, Xianxia's realm of profound arts, his understanding of the laws, and his control over fire energy all suppressed Feng Tianyu, even if the latter was an almighty monarch. Although Xianxia's sudden increase of profound energy shocked Feng Tianyu, subconsciously, he still did not think that Xianxia possessed the necessary strength to fight him. However, against this simple blast of flames, he had already used a total of 80% of his profound strength. Yet, not only was he unable to suppress Xianxia's phoenix flames, he even began to feel an increasing pressure after a short stalemate. Ha! A gigantic image of a phoenix appeared behind Feng Tianyu. As he raised his profound strength to 90%, the phoenix flames on his body once again erupted, stirring a gigantic fire whirlpool and forcefully suppressing Xianxia's phoenix flames in an instant. Break it! The phoenix flames blasted apart, causing the space to shatter. Countless spatial fragments shot out like needles, penetrating the blue skies and the earth. Under the torrent of flames, Xianxia and Feng Tianyu were separated far apart. Feng Tianyu's pupils shrank as he stared deeply at Xianxia. From what he saw, even though Xianxia was blasted further away, his expression was still calm and did not look one bit pale. Only his clothes showed signs of damage, but there wasn't any hint of injury on his body. 22 years old, third level of the Emperor Profound Realm, yet, just from the collision of pure profound energy, he was forced to use 90% of his strength. This was a situation where he never would have even dreamt of in the past. This child definitely cannot be left alive. Only after exchanging blows with Xianxia did Feng Tianyu, who did not even place Xianxia in his eyes in the beginning, truly realize the terror that was Xianxia. At the age of 22, Xianxia already possessed such power. Feng Tianyu couldn't imagine just what kind of terrifying realm he would achieve if he reached his own age. And this person was even Divine Phoenix Sect's mortal enemy. No matter what, at all costs, he must die. Who is your teacher? The muscles and blood veins in Feng Tianyu's entire body tensed up, and around his body, an increasingly concentrated amount of fire spirits began to appear. Realizing how terrifying Xianxia was, he had decided to send this junior to his grave within the shortest time possible. He was no longer hesitant to use his full strength. If he was kept alive in the future, he will definitely be the nightmare of Divine Phoenix Sect. And like everyone else, he wanted to know who could actually bring up such a disciple that could even shock a monarch like him to the core. You're still not qualified to know, Xianxia coldly said. Then you can die now. Feng Tianyu never hoped to receive an answer from Xianxia's own mouth either. With his arms spread open, his hair straightened up amidst the flames, and the phoenix image behind him released a resounding and ear-piercing phoenix cry. He wasn't releasing any phoenix flames from his body, but the temperature of the air was rising at a terrifying speed. The space was also quickly turning crimson red amidst the distortion. The shattered stones and sand particles on the ground were trembling, and even a large number of them began to float in the air. Phoenix Domain! After the sudden flash in Feng Tianyu's eyes, the surrounding area of a few dozen kilometers instantly turned into a gigantic sea of flames. Within the burning sea, countless phoenix flame silhouettes were dancing willfully and letting out long cries, releasing a destructive force that could potentially burn everything away. In the large flaming domain, Feng Tianyu and Xianxia were situated exactly at the center. Feng Tianyu raised both of his hands. In his domain, he was naturally its dictator. He could change the domain and circulate every corner of its power as he pleased. Everything within the domain would become his advantage. Fledgling, before you die, use your life to properly witness what a domain at the monarch level is. In this Phoenix domain, even if you use all the strength in your body to defend, you will still turn into ashes within 10 breaths of time. Domains at the monarch level were definitely unmatched and powerful. They could be called the highest level of power in the Sky Profound continent. However, never in his dreams would Feng Tianyu have possibly thought that. When it came to pure fire energy, even if it was 10 times stronger, it was impossible to harm Xianxia, who possessed the fire spirit evil body, in any way. Standing at the center of this domain of destruction, Xianxia lightly glanced at his surroundings. What appeared on his face was not shock and fear, but a cold smile which Feng Tianyu could not comprehend. If you didn't activate this Phoenix domain, your death would have been a little slower. Hunger, it's time to come out and work. Oh. With a flash of scarlet red light, the heaven-smiting Devil Slayer sword had already been grasped in Xianxia's hands. At that moment, all of the erupting flames in the entire Phoenix domain seemed to have stopped. while Feng Tianyu's pupils suddenly spasmed, as though they had been pierced by metal needles. Feng Tianyu had lived for several hundred years, but this was the first time he had seen such a gigantic sword. From this gigantic sword, he was seemingly unable to sense any presence. However, merely by making eye contact with it, his heart and soul actually appeared to have convulsed from fear. Ha! With a swing of his arms, the heaven-smiting sword threw out a scarlet red arc. Even though it was just a single and simple swing, it carried a shocking and thundering tearing sound at the front trajectory of the gigantic sword's swing. A rift of about 13 meters long and 15 centimeters wide was actually torn within this monarch-level phoenix domain, Feng Tianyu's strongest ability. No matter how rampant the surrounding phoenix flames were, or how the phoenix silhouette danced, the rift still did not close even after a long time. "What is that sword?" Feng Tianyu's voice was trembling. Xianxia did not answer. The bones of his entire body cracked and popped. After his marriage with Little Demon Empress, he received a large number of peerless famed swords. With hunger madly consuming them every day, the amount of energy stored within the heaven-smiting sword grew increasingly terrifying. Simply based on mass alone, it had already reached about 30,000 kilograms. If it was the past Xianxia who had just arrived in the illusory demon realm, it would be seemingly impossible for him to wield it. But for the current Xianxia, he could easily control it as though it was his own body. From witnessing Feng Tianyu's phoenix domain, Xianxia also saw the limits of Feng Tianyu's strength, which also allowed him to confirm that there was definitely no reason he would lose to Feng Tianyu. Even the possibility of killing him today was above 70%. Xianxia flew into the air, cruising straight through the phoenix domain as the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword swept horizontally towards Feng Tianyu. Wherever the heaven-smiting sword went, the phoenix domain would collapse in layers. The phoenix flames, which were initially running rampant, were suppressed to the point of being completely extinguished. Within the phoenix domain, which was several hundred kilometers in size, a gully of 300 meters in length was created from the blast in the blink of an eye. Feng Tianyu's face was distorted. The phoenix image behind his back was struggling, and the protective, profound energy surrounding his body seemed as though it had been pierced by countless metal needles as it produced sizzling noises. He grabbed onto a flaming halberd, and all of the flames within the surrounding 300 meters of space gathered onto the halberd itself, forming a gigantic flaming python that was sent smashing straight at Xianxia. Boom! Red lights burst out, and the sky once again changed in color. Under the torrent of energy from the heaven-smiting sword, Feng Tianyu's flaming python merely lasted for half a breath before it was minced apart. Feng Tianyu's vision whitened as he felt as though his chest was struck by a huge mountain. In an instant, his flesh turned into mash, and afterwards, through his ribcage and a newly dawned protective profound energy, he was able to barely resist the attack. Wind whistled past his ears as Feng Tianyu was sent flying in a straight line. Only after traversing 2 or 3 kilometers did he finally stop. The energy and blood in his entire body seethed, and blood profusely flowed out of his abdomen. He reached out his arm, only to realize that on both his arms, several long wounds had been ripped open. The surrounding flames were dispersing, and the temperature quickly dropped as well. Losing control of his ability, the Phoenix domain instantly collapsed. Earlier, he proclaimed that Xianxia would definitely be burnt away in the Phoenix domain within 10 breaths of time. But after 10 breaths of time, it was instead the Phoenix domain which met a tragic end of collapsing in an instant. Impossible! Feng Tianyu held his abdomen with his hand, but he had forgotten to suppress the injuries that were not as severe. He looked at Xianxia, who was right in front of him, and the distorted expression on his face was as though he was having a terrifying nightmare. Impossible? How could something like this happen? He had used 100% of his profound strength, only to be heavily injured by his opponent with a single strike. The domain, which he had gathered with the highest level of his power, actually collapsed just like that in a short 10 breaths of time. The strength behind the attack that struck his body earlier, how could it possibly have come from the hands of this 22 years old in front of him? I have already told you. If you didn't use your domain and had instead saved your energy, you could have possibly died a little slower. A cold, killing intent flashed past Xianxia's eyes. He did not give Feng Tianyu the opportunity to catch his breath. The heaven-smiting sword once again smashed out, causing the several dozen meters of space in front of him to curve to a great degree from the extremely tyrannical power of his heavy sword. The attack he endured earlier was as terrifying as a nightmare, so how would Feng Tianyu dare to block it head-on? With his contracted pupils, a flaming shadow swept out of his body as he quickly retreated several dozen meters back. But the wideness of the range of the heavy sword's attack could definitely not be compared to any regular weapons. Even if Feng Tianyu had retreated to very far distance with extreme speed, he was still swept by the shockwave of the heaven-smiting sword's force. Although it was merely a shockwave, it caused his entire body to ruthlessly tumble and turn, almost making him fall to the ground. Feng Tianyu was both shocked and furious. With his two hands raised together, two spheres of phoenix flames that were several meters thick fiercely shot out before merging into one and shooting straight at Xianxia. Boom. With a loud boom, the phoenix flames, which Feng Tianyu shot out with his full strength, was dispersed with a smash of the heaven-smiting Devil Slayer sword. After the dispersal of flames, the gigantic sword approached at high speed. Feng Tianyu's face turned ashen from shock as he once again retreated with all his might. Using of his profound energy, he concentrated on protecting the front of his body. Amidst his fear, he actually did not dare to once again throw a counterattack. Within Phoenix City, the constant flashes of red light in the southeastern sky could be clearly seen. Although the roars came from extremely far away, they still rang in everyone's ears. Hehe, as expected, it's impossible for Xianxia to escape from Grand Elder's clutches. Feng Ziming coldly laughed. For Grand Elder to personally make a move, it's simply too easy on him. It's already been a good long while since Grand Elder made his move, yet it actually isn't over yet. Could it be that Grand Elder is playing a game of catching the mouse? Feng Feili said with a faint smile. Every single one of them had no doubt that it was just an easy feat for Feng Tianyu if he wanted to kill Xianxia. Feng Tianqing's expression was very calm in the beginning, but as the glow in the southeastern sky grew even more intense, and as the sounds grew even heavier, his brows began to sink bit by bit. Noticing the changes in his expression, Feng Hengkang asked, "Grand Elder, could there have been some unforeseen events over at Elder Tianyu's side?" Feng Tianyu said with a low voice, "Initially, Tianyu only used half of his profound strength, then 80% of it, but now he has actually raised it to 100%. What's going on? No matter how exaggerated Xianxia's strength was, it can't possibly force Elder Tianyu to use all his strength. Could someone else have appeared? Or perhaps there's a certain powerful helper on Xianxia's side." At this moment in Feng Tianqing's ears, a pressing, anxious phoenix spirit sound transmission was suddenly sent by Feng Tianyu. "Come quick, I'm not his match." Feng Tianqing's expression gravely changed. He was simply unable to believe the words he just heard. He raised his head and looked towards the southeastern sky and took a deep, heavy breath. Not having the time to explain to Feng Hengkang and the rest, he had already rose into the air and charged straight over with his fastest speed. T/N, teaser was meant to be hunger? For anyone that's wondering. With the heaven-smiting sword's wild and violent attacks complementing the star god's broken shadow, the moment Xianxia had suppressed his opponent, a reversal was bound to never happen. At this time, Feng Tianyu was in this sort of predicament. He had lived for several hundred years and had exchanged blows with countless experts. But even if he was facing an opponent who was several times stronger than himself, he had never been completely suppressed to this extent. Under Xianxia's hurricane-like strikes, Feng Tianyu could only guard and retreat desperately. In a blink of an eye, he was consecutively struck several dozen kilometers away. During the entire process, forget about counterattacking or fleeing. Even catching his breath had become an extravagant wish. He was unable to get on his feet as he felt as though his entire being was firmly pressed under several huge mountains. In the earlier clash of phoenix flames, he was able to slightly take the upper hand. But the moment Xianxia pulled out the heaven-smiting sword and made a single slash, he was suppressed to the point of not being able to catch his breath at all. But because of his incomparably rich amount of profound energy, he had yet to fall or receive serious injuries. Under Xianxia's several dozen strikes, the energy and blood in his entire body had long been in a state of turmoil, as though they were boiling from within. At this moment, a surging wave of air came from the northwestern direction at a breakneck speed. As soon as it appeared, Feng Tianyu's unbearably painful expression finally revealed a hint of ease. While that wave of air had yet to approach, a gigantic sphere of phoenix flames had already enveloped the sky and earth, blasting towards Xianxia. Xianxia forced open his distance with Feng Tianyu with a slash, and with another fierce swing, under the gigantic torrent of profound energy, the phoenix flames that was blasting towards him were instantly distorted into another direction, straight towards his back. The moment it made contact with the ground, it loudly exploded into several sky-piercing fire pillars of up to several hundred meters tall. Under the radiance of the fiery light, another person stood next to Feng Tianyu, who had finally caught his breath after escaping Yun Qi's heavy sword strikes. He was of similar age with Feng Tianyu, and he was dressed in the same apparel. Naturally, it was Feng Tianqing who rushed over in full speed. However, his expression looked extremely hideous, because like Feng Tianyu, he could clearly feel that heart-wrenching aura from Yun Qi's body. In his heart, he was even more so filled with extreme shock and disbelief. Feng Tianyu's arms were bleeding profusely. He hurriedly gathered his energy to suppress all of the injuries on his body as he solemnly said, "Tianqing, this boy is simply a monster. He's 100 times stronger than we imagined. We have to unleash our full strength together. If this boy doesn't die, our divine sect will never be at ease." There wasn't a need for Feng Tianyu to explain. His condition and the aura emitted from Yun Qi's body were already sufficient enough to allow Feng Tianqing to understand that they had completely wrongly estimated Yun Qi's strength. In regards to Feng Tianyu's final words, he incomparably agreed to them as well. Feng Tianqing took a deep breath and said, "There's no longer a need to capture him alive. Just deal the killing blow. Do not give him any chance to breathe." Feng Tianqing took half a step forward, and within this half a step worth of time, the phoenix flames on his body had already expanded by several dozen meters. In his hands, an additional flaming heavy blade that was about 5 inches in length appeared. With Feng Tianyu following closely behind, both of their phoenix flames blended together, and looking from afar, it was as though there was another crimson-red sun in the sky. And under the sun, the boundless Earth's surface quickly turned into tumbling lava. With these two working together, the longer this battle drags on, the more disadvantageous it will become. If there's any other unforeseen events, then it will be even harder for you to deal with it. End the battle quickly, Jasmine said with a solemn voice. "I know." Yun Qi tightly grasped the heaven-smiting Devil Slayer sword with both of his hands. Before the sword moved, a catastrophic aura had already enveloped the great Earth. Facing the tag team of 2 great Phoenix monarchs, he did not prepare to cautiously make his retreat. Instead, he took the initiative to step forward. Smashing his sword out, the most intense of Phoenix flames were set ablaze on both his body and sword, as a near-substantial Phoenix image spread out its wings behind his back, roaring out, destroying sky-decimating Earth. At the same time, Feng Tianqing's and Feng Tianyu's Phoenix flames smashed towards Yun Qi in an overwhelming manner as well. Phoenix Fire Burning Heaven. The 2 Phoenix Fire Burning Heaven carried a destructive force that an ordinary person couldn't possibly imagine. The enormous, blinding fiery radiance covered every other light, like a devil originating from the deep pits of hell, as it engulfed the approaching Yun Qi. 3 monarch-level powers unfancily clashed with each other, and for a moment, even all sounds had been engulfed. The surging flames charged straight above the skies, completely swallowing the surrounding area of several dozen kilometers. In that short moment, all of the living beings and inanimate objects within turned into ashes. Space wildly collapsed, and several strips of gigantic space fissures ferociously swallowed the explosive power and flames. One was simply unable to open their eyes due to the extremely bright light, and under the enveloping fiery radiance, Feng Tianyu and Feng Tianqing were ruthlessly sent flying away by the violent energy. In midair, they supported each other with their strength, only stopping after all the energy in their bodies were depleted. Both of their faces were as red as blood, and the profound energy within their entire bodies were wantonly clashing in their meridians. It was chaotic to the point of being unsuppressible. A trickle of blood was present on Feng Tianqing's lips, but his condition was a little better, since only his arms suffered heavier injuries. Feng Tianyu's chest, however, was already badly mutilated, and his 2 hands, which were grabbing onto the blade, had even revealed ghastly white bones. At least half of the meridians in his 2 arms were even destroyed. He seemed to be no longer able to grasp the hilt of the blade tightly from the intense pain and serious injuries. Ding! With a light ring, the flaming heavy blade in Feng Tianqing's hands suddenly shattered. From the hilt of the blade to the blade's body itself, the finely scattered fragments dispersed onto the ground. Feng Tianyu and Feng Tianqing were both startled at the same time. Feng Tianqing let out a long sigh. He did not mourn for his shattered, precious blade. Instead, he solemnly said, Forget it. With my hands seriously injured to this extent, I'm afraid even 10 years wouldn't be enough for them to fully recover. 10 years should be enough to find another suitable blade. Tianyu, how's your injuries? I'm fine. Although Feng Tianyu had already exchanged blows with Yun Qi earlier, his profound strength has, after all, surpassed Feng Tianqing by a small realm, so his injuries weren't much heavier than Feng Tianqing's. With his gaze fixated on the overbearing flames in front of him that were unceasingly engulfing everything, he said with a hoarse voice, "For that attack earlier, both of us had used our entire strength. Although we both suffered some injuries, that devil spawn should have already turned into ashes." Feng Tianqing slowly nodded. Although his abilities are irregularly strong, he merely possesses an emperor-profound physique after all, so there's absolutely no reason for him to survive. Even in my dreams, I would have never thought that at the small blue wind nation, an impossible freak like him would actually appear. He actually needed the both of us to join hands. Boom, boom, boom. Extremely oppressive booms suddenly echoed out. Irregular sways suddenly occurred to the boundless phoenix flames in front of them, and in the next moment, they were violently split apart. Yun Qi, along with that heaven-smiting devil slayer sword which was even larger than his own physique, suddenly came assaulting forward with a terrifying wave of air that was not any weaker than the one he had before. What? Feng Tianyu's and Feng Tianqing's eyes widened at the same time. At this single moment, for the first time in their lives, they experienced what was known as true terror. Even if Yun Qi did not die, they would have been still able to accept it a little if he appeared while blood-soaked. However, Yun Qi's gaze was still as cold as a sharp blade, and his aura had not even weakened in the slightest bit. From what they saw, they were seemingly unable to see any scars on his body. Even if they were to die 100 times, this was an outcome that they could never accept or believe. Under their extreme shock and disbelief, their bodies instinctively reacted in tacit agreement. With one facing the left and the other facing the right, they fled off at extreme speeds. Earlier, Yun Qi had instantly smashed out his immensely exhaustive, destroying sky, decimating Earth, evidently wanting to follow Jasmine's advice of ending the battle quickly. Even though he had the absolute advantage the entire time, his opponents were still two mighty monarchs. They definitely wouldn't be easy to take down. Since he wanted to end this battle quickly, how could he possibly allow them to flee? Yun Qi did not chase any one of them. Instead, after slightly pausing at their original position before charging away, a rising glow instantly flashed within his pupils, and above his head, an image of a gigantic azure dragon appeared in a flash. Dragon Soul Domain! Spiritual pressure originating from the primordial azure dragon descended from the skies, enveloping Feng Tianyu's and Feng Tianqing's souls. With the duo's monarch-level souls, they shouldn't have suffered too greatly under the Dragon Soul Domain. But in the first place, their souls were already this close to flying out of their bodies due to the shock they received from Yun Qi. Thus, under the pressure of the Dragon Soul, they instantly sank into the deep abyss of fear. Their bodies instantly turned limp from extreme terror as they fell straight to the ground. Their protective, profound energy was also greatly affected as it quickly dispersed like tidal waters. Amidst the leather breaking sound, the heaven-smiting devil sword easily pierced Feng Tianyu from his back. The surging energy flooded inside his body, instantly mincing his meridians, profound veins, and organs inside his entire body. Because of the protective layer made from a monarch's powers, when Yun Qi smashed out the destroying sky decimating Earth earlier, it merely caused them to suffer slightly heavy injuries. But under the Dragon Soul Domain, with a casual swing of his sword, Yun Qi could easily take their lives, as though they were mere commoners. This was the terrifying nature of the Dragon Soul Domain. Feng Tianyu's face froze as his senses, which had yet to completely disappear, had already clearly seen his own death. With the last of his willpower, he turned his head to the back bit by bit, seemingly wanting to clearly see Yun Qi's face again before his death. You, moan, stir. His head had only turned halfway through, before it heavily drooped down, no longer making a single sound. The two words, which had costed him all of his willpower to shout out, carried neither hatred nor unwillingness, but instead astonishment and disbelief that could not be dispelled even in death. HMPH, thank you for your praise. Yun Qi let out a cold laugh. With a swing of his sword, Feng Tianyu's corpse was swung far away, falling into the sea of phoenix flames. In a blink of an eye, it had already turned into ashes. In the several hundred years Feng Tianyu had lived for, Not even in his dreams would he expect that he would actually fall under the hands of someone who was merely around 20 years old. Xianxia coldly turned around and gazed at Feng Tianqing. The Dragon Soul domain earlier had only lasted for 2 breaths of time before it was recalled by Xianxia. Feng Tianqing was still sitting limply on the ground, but it was unknown whether his condition was due to the shock of the Dragon Soul, which had yet to completely disperse, or the fact that his spirit had completely collapsed. He did not take the opportunity to flee, and his eyes, which were staring at Xianxia, had already turned hollow. "You, just who are you?" Feng Tianqing's lips shivered, and his every word was similarly trembling as well. Both Feng Tianyu and him had joined forces, yet they were still defeated by Xianxia to such an extent. He was now the only one left, and he was even bearing serious injuries. In addition to the collapse of his spirit from the force of pressure brought by the Dragon Soul, he had already completely lost the will to resist. "I am Xianxia, Prince Consort of the Blue Wind Imperial family, husband of the current Blue Wind Empress, and the son-in-law of the former Blue Wind Emperor who was killed by your people. A citizen of Blue Wind Nation which had been violated and trampled into hell by you people for no reason. Do you understand now?" Xianxia coldly said. Feng Tianqing's hands had sunk into the ground below him as he muttered, "Is this heaven's will?" "Heaven's will?" Xianxia solemnly let out a cold snort. "Heh, this is retribution which your divine Phoenix sect deserves. And this retribution has only just begun." "Heh," Feng Tianqing listlessly laughed. "Although I was useless and failed to kill you, the foundation of 5,000 years behind our divine Phoenix sect isn't something the likes of you can possibly move with the 2 of us dead. You will definitely not be able to live past today either." Boom. A dull bursting sound rang out. With his eyes closed, his entire body shook as blood gushed out from his 7 orifices, after which he slowly collapsed onto the ground. As a Phoenix Grand Elder, he was unwilling to be killed by Xianxia. However, he knew that he wouldn't be able to escape from Xianxia's grasp, hence, he killed himself by self-destructing his own profound meridians and organs. After the collapse of his body, the sparse Phoenix blood on his body were also set ablaze, burning his corpse within the Phoenix flames. Xianxia turned his head away, kept the heaven-smiting Devil Slayer sword, and let out a soft, cold laugh. "Whether I'm able to move it or not is not something you can decide." When his voice fell, he had already rose into the air, charging straight towards the direction of divine Phoenix City. Bang! Feng Hengkong's body suddenly shook, as though his entire being was struck by a bolt of heavenly lightning. His 4 limbs and facial features had intensely contorted as his body swayed, staggered, and then fell backwards. "Sect Master! Royal Father!" The surrounding elders and princes were instantly in great shock. They held him up in a fluster as they anxiously asked, "Sect Master, what happened to you?" Feng Hengkong's lips were still trembling, and his pair of pupils were in enlarged states the entire time, unable to revert back to normal. That was an extremely intense form of fear and astonishment. "Elder Tianyu is dead."